Hello, good afternoon, good evening to everyone out there. Hey, listen, before I get started, I'd like to say hello to whoever's in the chat. And I know some people are just getting started with this show. But again, appreciations to the Black Man Unfiltered Network for giving me the platform to discuss this important topic. And I think you guys will like it. Everybody who's going to pop in and listen to what we're talking about. The topic today is discernment and consequences for men and boys. Of course, there's discernment and consequences for young ladies, women, and girls, but that's a different kind of conversation, and we'll get to that a little bit. So that's the focus today. Hey, what's going on, Don? How you doing, man? Thanks for stopping in. All right, so listen, the reason why this is important because men and boys need the knowledge to navigate the waters of the sexual marketplace. We need the ammunition. We need something to help us guide through that. And the reason why I say this is that, listen, in the sexual marketplace, you know, women have a near, and the operative word is near, irresistible commodity. And men have a near, again, near, unquenchable desire for what women have. And so you got that irresistible commodity and an unquenchable desire, and they meet in the middle in that sexual marketplace. And so, how do people navigate that? We need to talk more about that. So this is not a mistake. Okay, this is the natural order of things. Okay, and it's by design. All right, it's the way it is. It's the yin and it's the yin and the yang. It's the man and the woman. It's to be together, right? It's the masculine and the feminine. It's all part of the big picture. And the fact that we have this war going on is because the puppet masters, the social engineers, the commodity engineers, the capitalists, not capitalists in terms of the bad capitalists, right? The ones who don't care about family or community, they just want more people feeding into it. They have a vested interest in keeping us separate. And their plan is working. It's working too well. And it has worked too well, by the way. And so how we need to give men the like I said, the ammunition to combat that, to start to rekindle what we used to have. Hey, man. Hey, what's going on? Oh, man, that's so funny. Hey, listen, so I see Trey's thing. Again, I said, of course, discernment and consequences is required for women and girls, but that's a different conversation. It should be spearheaded by women, right? Women like the Crimson Cure, women like Take Heed to the Message. It'd be nice for women to have a panel talking about discernment and consequences for women and girls, right? So we got one for boys and men and boys, women and girls, and the consequences and stuff are not the same. So so hold on, Trey, for a while before we get talking. I got a few more minutes to go here, not too much longer. No videos, no nothing. But anyway, I'm going to start at the beginning, right? I believe this is where we went wrong. So I'm going to tell you guys a little story. And for my, like I keep telling people, I have one foot in the secular world and the other one in the non-secular world. So I'm going to tell a little story. But first, let me talk about the definition of discernment. And there's many different variations of this definition, but this is a real simple one. And I want y'all to hear me, right? Discernment is the ability to make smart judgment about something one is about to say, or more importantly, do. Let me just say that again. The ability to make a smart judgment about something a person is about to say, or more importantly, do. This means you have to have understanding of the consequence or consequences of your decision. And that's where we need to get to, right? And that's how I view things. Like one of the things that we said before, discipline, we could throw that out there. But that's almost the same as saying, just say no to drugs. There's got to be some meat put on those bones. And, one of the things that we have to do as men who've lived a little while, we have to be honest with the young men that we've done some of the mistakes that we're telling them not to do. And we need to be truthful with them about that. And we need to let them know that the fact that we're telling you not to do it is because we don't want you to go down those same paths as we do. You know what I'm saying? Or as we did. And we have to tell you how we recovered or how we dodged a bullet. But we have to be truthful with the young men, because just telling them not to have sex is a non-starter. It just could be part of the conversation, but we always have to end it with, but if you do, this is what you have to do to protect yourself and to protect your future and the future of the woman that you're with. Anyway, so here's my story. I'm going to tell you guys, and maybe the lightning bolt will come on, maybe not. I think this all started with Adam and Eve, right? There's the biblical passages where we know that God spoke directly to Adam, but it's not clear whether he spoke directly to Eve, but they both knew about the tree of knowledge. They both knew about it. In all the gardens, there was one tree, the tree of knowledge, that they were not supposed to eat from, because then it was knowledge of good and evil. Before then, they were completely innocent and they didn't have the knowledge of good and evil. So this is what I think happened. The serpent came out and he seduced, and they use the word, I believe, seduce in the Bible. He seduces Eve, right? I could get salacious about it, but I'm not. He seduces Eve to take a bite of the apple from the tree of knowledge. Okay? And so she takes a bite. And listen, so from one of the things I want to say is that as seducing her, just like a snake, he has a long tongue. So I would tell all the women out there, if any of you guys are listening, one of the reasons why you kind of like men doing what they do to you down there, you could thank Eve for that. You could probably thank Eve for that, because that might have been part of the seduction. So Eve bites the apple, and now we're halfway out of the garden, out of the the garden, right? We're halfway out, and then she goes to Adam and says, Adam, I just had the greatest experience of my life. And Adam says, what the hell are you talking about, Eve? What are you talking about? She says, you don't know, man. I bit this apple and the whole world opened up to me. And she gives him the apple and he bites the apple. And his eyes widen. And he said, holy shit, Eve, you got a nice ass. Because now he can see. And by the way, those things up there, they're nice and perky. And all of a sudden now, he's wide open to good and evil, right? He understands what it means for a woman to be naked. And so we could thank both of those guys for kicking us out of the Garden of Eden, right? I mean, because both of them. So that's why we're on the internet right now arguing relationships, because before then, we didn't have no issues, right? So they kicked us out, right? So Eve, who was the first 304, and Adam, who's the first simp, we could thank them for where we are today. Trying to understand the consequences, the discernment and consequences of our actions in the sexual marketplace. Before, if they didn't do that, we wouldn't have to worry about it. I think it's even a passage in the Bible that says the reason why women have pain is because of what Eve did in childbirth. Anyway, that's my little secular take on the story of Adam and Eve and what we have to thank them for, getting kicked out of the Garden of Eden, right? Anyway, so let me take you through a couple of my scenarios. And one of the things I want to set the table on, and after I set this table, we can go ahead and bring people up and talk about discernment. Right? One, I want to start with boys, right? Boys who are before they get older, right? Young boys at 8 to 10, 11 years old, pre-ejaculate, the testes haven't dropped yet. So the conversation of discernment and consequence with them might be nothing more than a little bit of how babies are born. Why you stand up pee, why you have to pee, stand up while you pee, and why girls have to sit down when they do. You know where babies come from. This is what this is what daddy had to use, and mom has this other thing. You don't get into any of the sexual stuff because consequence to them is not the same, right? You just want them to have basic knowledge of their anatomy and those kind of things, or what it's used for. That's for boys under adolescence. So when you get to an adolescent boy, 14 to 17, the conversation of consequence, the conversation of discernment has to evolve because there's more involved now, right? Right. So, listen, I pity all the moms out there who have to do laundry for boys from 14 to 17, right? All those sticky socks and all that shit you got to go through. I would tell them how to wash their own clothes so you don't have to go through all that shit. But the conversation has to be evolutionary, right? You got to tell them about disease of unprotected sex. You have to tell them about pregnancy. You got to talk about that. You can't just say dick discipline, don't have sex with nobody, because they know you did it. So you got to be honest with them. You might have to tell a son who's 14 to 17 about the sleepless nights you had when you had unprotected sex with a girl and she missed her period. What did that do to you? How did you feel? And you were happy that, her blood started to flow and how you dodged a bullet. And then some of you guys have to maybe be honest with your kid that you didn't dodge the bullet. And you had a kid at 14, 17, and what that really meant to your life. So you got to let them know about the consequence of that action. You got to tell them about the arrested development that put on your life. If you're a girl, the arrested development might be a couple more years than it might be for a boy. And then one of the things I found out that if an adolescent boy and an adolescent girl have sex and they have a baby, guess who's responsible financially? The grandparents of the kids. There's state law that says that if an adolescent boy and girl have a baby, the parents are responsible to pay. The parents are responsible to pay. So if I was a parent and I didn't, I should have known this. Maybe it's obvious to a lot of you out there, but I didn't know that. Yeah, but it makes sense. Who else is paying? You're still paying for the kid. So you got to pay for what the kid has done. So when that baby is born, it's not just love for the innocent grandchild. The state says, nah, it's more than love. You got to foot the bill for that little thing there, man. Which you'll be happy to do once after you finish screaming at your son and daughter. Because the kids are innocent, and in most households, you're going to take the kid in. We don't need to argue that. It's just going to happen. Okay, so now you're 18. Now you're 18 to 29. And I put 18 to 29. It sounds like a long, thing. But now you're illegal. You're legal. You're 18 years old. You're a legal human being as a man. The consequences have elevated. Right? Of course, the disease discussion is still there. You got to talk about those diseases for raw sex. But now the cost of having an unwanted baby is now firmly in your corner. And one of the consequences of paying child support is that you're now in the system. The government views you as a quasi-criminal. Right? It's forcing you to pay for 18 years for for a kid with a woman you may or may not have any good relationships with anymore. So you're 18 and you're paying somebody money until you're 36 years old. From 18 to 36, all the changes in life you go through from a teenager to a 36-year-old man, it's a big, huge deal. Let's put it this way. If you're paying just $300 a month, and if you were in the market and you were investing that at just 5%, that's like $104,000. And that's just child support. I mean, there's all kinds of other costs for raising a kid, right? School, sickness, and all kinds of different things, glasses, whatever the hell a kid needs. That's above and beyond your stinking $300, you know? So that's a lot of money. That's arrested development from you from being 18. If you're 20, now that's 40, right? I mean, that's 20, that's 38, and so on and so forth. And so your level of consequence and for your lack of discernment is elevated. Now, I got one for you as well. This one is important. If you're a senior in high school and your 18th birthday hits, and the freshman girls come in, and it's April, and you're a jock, or maybe you're not a jock, you're just handsome. And the freshmen are on top of you, and the sophomores, and all of those girls are less than 16 years old. And let's just say you succumb to the siren song and you have sex with one of those girls. And I'm surprised this doesn't happen anymore. One of those girls' parents could actually have you arrested for statutory criminal activity because you're a legal man, according to the law, and those kids are still minors, especially if the age is only 16, if the age of consent is at 16. So can you imagine how much so-called illegal sexual activity is going on in high school with 18-year-old boys and girls who are under 16? It's got to be tremendous. It has to be. So when you think about that consequence, here's the big kicker. If you ever had to go to jail or you got convicted, even if you didn't go to jail, you at least are going to have to register for, you'd be on the registry as a sex offender. Dig that, as a consequence at 18 years old. Now, I don't know whether a sex offender thing, there's different there's different rates, different levels of sex offender. So I don't know what it's going to mean for the rest of your life for something you did at 18 with a consenting girl who just happened to be under 16, but it might. That's a tremendous consequence for something that was seemingly consensual. So we got to be careful there. And then there's one more category, and then we'll bring you up. We'll talk to you, Trey, about this. When you're over 30, right? When you're over 30, the consequence again is evolutionary because you should know better. Once you're 30, you should know better for the consequences of your action for having sex with a woman that is really out of pocket. And these are all consensual things. I'm not talking about. Let me give you a couple of scenarios. I'm gonna go through 4 real quick. You're a married man, and let me before I get started here. All right. Listen, man, just chill out, man. This is my last thing, and then we'll come up and chop it up. Just not even 10 minutes. So let me as I'll get my long stroke out of the way. So listen, starting 30, you should be going through your sexual transmutation where the energy for getting laid should be transmuting to something more productive. So if you're a married man, everything's going well, you got a beautiful wife, she's not cheating on you, got kids, you got a mortgage. There's a couple of the discernment and the consequence has to elevate. Because if you're going to have an affair, some of these dumb assholes, right? They have an affair with single women. As a married man, you cannot, under any circumstance, have an affair with a single woman, especially one you're going to keep going back to because she ain't giving a damn about your relationship, especially if she catch feelings. So if you're going to cheat, you got to cheat with a woman who's married and who has as much or more to lose than you do. Or else, okay, let me stop for a second. I'm not advocating you cheat at all. I'm just saying if you do, these consequences should be in the forefront of your head, not in the back. The Celtics head coach, Ime Udoka, 6'8", multimillionaire, with all the women who he could stroke outside of his purview of the Celtic organization, he picks a woman who's married to a VP and busts her cheeks. How stupid is that? He's supposed to have discernment. He's supposed to understand the consequence. He blew it all. We had a president of the United States. A little young girl comes into his office and shows him her bare ass in a thong. Instead of firing her on the spot, telling her to go home, right? He has her blowing him for 6 months until he releases on a blue dress. And it became part of his downfall. How can that happen for a man who's in his 50s? All right. And then there was one biblical character that he was a strong man for 20 years for the Israeli army. He killed all the Philistines, everybody who got in their way. And God told him, spoke to him, said, listen, all your power's in your hair. Don't tell nobody. Then the sister, I don't know, I call her a sister, she blows his mind in bed. And whatever she did to him, he gave her the secret of his hair. Where do you think pillow talk came from? Where do you think pillow talk came from? He tells her the secrets. She has his hair cut off, and they blind him. And until he begs for forgiveness and he gets his strength back for just 1 second before he dies, he takes out a whole bunch of bad dudes before he goes. So these stories are fictional. Some are fictional, some are biblical, but they're all the same. Men not having a good enough discernment to understand the consequences in the sexual marketplace. Hey, how you doing, daughter? So anyway, so that's it. Let's bring people up and let's chop them.
Yes!
That's it. But you know what, man? The hell with you guys. You got to set the table right. Hey, what's going on, Trey?
What's going on?
All right. Hey, what's going on, Easy Buddy?
What's going on?
And so y'all heard me long stroke this whole thing, but I set the table. All right, so what's the matter? You sleepy, Trey? Man, go ahead, man. What's up, brother? What you got on the top?
I'm just listening. I mean,
it's your turn to talk.
Look, this whole thing, this de-discipline, sexual discernment argument it's exhausting. It's exhausting from the standpoint of men are going to be men, and they're going to continue to keep having sex. I think the pivot has to be to get younger boys who are having sex at early ages and young men who are having a lot of sex in their college age to understand how important it is to have sex safely. Because the idea that you're going to get them to stop, or the idea that you're going to get them to be more responsible and discern or be disciplined, I think is ridiculous with the sense that women are more sexually liberated now than they've ever been and are getting more liberated every day. So, that would be like asking a bear not to go fish for salmon in a river where the salmon are plentiful. Like, that just doesn't make any sense. He's going to go exactly where he can eat the most. So I think the idea is to explain to a lot of these younger guys, or just any guys, how important it is to wrap it up, to be safe, to get tested. Because this whole discernment thing, this de-discipline thing, I just think it's a moot point. I don't see where we're going with this. We can scream it from the mountaintops. Guys are not going to listen. Hormones take place, especially when you think about it from a standpoint that most guys aren't having sex anyway. I look at some guys and I can just look at him like, this guy. I saw a guy yesterday, I was like, there's no way this guy's had sex in the last 10 years. I just saw him. I was like, there's no way. So if this guy has an opportunity to have sex, you think he's going to turn it down? It's not happening. It's not happening.
Well, go ahead, Easy Money, and I'll come back. Well, I'll come back to you, Trey, because I don't think you heard what I said, because I agree with what you just said. And I think what's your explanation kind of agrees with mine. You just wasn't as long stroked about it. Hey, go ahead, Easy Money. What you got? You got three sons, right?
Yeah, I got 3 sons, 11, 9, and 7. And they're starting to, well, at least my oldest and my middle, they're starting to make that transition into manhood. They got hair coming in, armpits is working, all of that. And so I think that the term de-discipline kind of undercuts what it is in reality, right? Essentially, what you're attempting to do is to act off your emotions and your hormones and things like that, and ultimately, what we're choosing to do is teach the kids about what is sex and what is it truly for, right? And I'm not going to go so Puritan to where I'm going to tell them that it's only for procreation. But I will share with them that, hey, it feels great. It's a good physical release, cardio, all of that. But you shouldn't be out here trying to get indiscriminate sex, right? So like in this space, it's funny how, we have these conversations where it's like, oh, you shouldn't buy Starbucks every day, and you need to go to the gym every day, and you need to get 3 or 4 jobs and work 60 hours a week. So like we preach discipline in all these other areas, but then when it comes to sex, we're like, it's just nature. Like it's not our nature to go to work 40 hours a week. Okay, it's not our nature to, really wear clothes, right? But yet we accept things that aren't in our nature in other places, but in this one particular place, we want to go off of what nature tells us, and that is normally where a lot of people get in trouble.
Well, one of the things that I want to say is that I think both of you guys kind of reiterated what I said, right? When I mentioned discipline, I meant it I said it in the context of that's the same as saying say no to drugs. It's just not going to work. And so when I say discernment, that's just understanding where you're at. And I don't believe that would stop a man from having sex. I'm saying that in the front of your mind, you should understand that there's consequences for your actions. Whether the consequences stop you or not, that's another matter. But you should be talking about the consequences, because that is what's going to stop some people. Now, when you get to a certain level, right? Sex is not cardio. When you get to a certain level, I think all of us came to a point where we said, well, you know what? I can't mess with woman A or woman B because I don't like the implications of what might happen if she catches feelings, or if I was cheating that somebody might find out, or whatever it is. That's discernment and consequence. Those two things come together. So I think that in the absence of that, and just saying, well, let a person just live off of their nature without any ammunition to protect themselves, even from disease. So, we got to say something, right? And the last thing I said, I never said this, that we should tell them not to have sex. I didn't say that. I said that man has this is pretty much an unquenchable desire for what a woman has to offer.
Come on, Arpane. There's no way you truly believe that.
That a man has an unquenchable desire for women, a healthy man. What are you talking about? Do you live on this earth?
Come on, man.
Okay, you don't have. How do you quench your thirst for a woman? You got married.
Nah, I didn't get married. I didn't get married just for that,
I didn't say. See, now let's not go to extremes. You got married for the reason why you could have access to that from the woman that you love. So you don't have to go searching for any random chick. That's part of it. You can't. Why are you going to lie about it?
Wait, time out. Wait. So what I'm pushing back on is when I decided to get married, like sex was probably 3rd or 4th on the list. Like there were other aspects that actually were more important than the sex.
Did I say they weren't? That's same for me. But listen, it doesn't matter whether it was more important or not. It was on the list.
I'll beat you there. Yes, it was on the list.
That's all I'm saying. It's on the list. If it wasn't on the list, you might have a different outcome.
But Arpane, to that point, what I'm pushing back on is this unquenchable thirst aspect, right? Because if your thirst is unquenchable, you're just going to continue to drink and drink and drink and drink.
I said near unquenchable thirst.
Okay, my bad.
I said this in the beginning that near is an operative word. Because the way men and women behave in the sexual marketplace, women have acknowledged to themselves, at least, that they have an irresistible commodity. That's why the women, in lack of doing anything else, they go to OnlyFans and other ways to sell that shit because they know men want it. You know, so we can't deny that. It doesn't mean anything salacious other than what it is. But hey, before we get going on that, we got time. Go ahead, Ikane. Let me let
Oh,
you go,
Dr.
man.
Steele. What's going
Yeah,
on, man?
Dr. Still. Yeah, how you doing, Dr. Still? Go ahead, Ikane. Go ahead, man. You got something?
Yeah, how you doing, Dr. Steele? Hey, Trey, and my brother, Money Man, Mr.
Deacon May, what's
Payne, how you
going on,
doing?
man? I'm
Good,
good.
good, 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 good. Hey, there is unquenchable test. When you marry to a woman, yes, there is unquenchable test. Not near unquenchable test for sex. It's unquenchable because guess what? When that test for sex quenches, that means you guys are about to go your separate ways. Or you guys are now roommates. You see what I'm saying? You're always going to have an unquenchable taste for your wife, but does it mean you're going to have sex every day? No. But you're always going to find her sexually attractive. That's why you guys have a happy home. You might argue, you might get mad at each other, but the next day or 2 days later, you forget it because you guys are so much in love that sex is involved. So you can't tell a man that there is no unquenchable test. No, 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 no. I don't agree to that. If there is an unquenchable test, if there is no need for sex, then there is no need for marriage. That's just what it is.
You're on mute, man.
I'm not on mute. You guys
Yeah,
couldn't hear me?
Dr. Still, what you got on the top?
You know, when you talk about sexual discernment, and you mentioned this, there are so many different consequences. Some of them are natural, some of them are not so natural. I mean, it could range from STDs to getting fired from your job to losing your wife. But you know, I read an article, I think 2 days ago, about men who've been getting box after box after box, and most of these men I've seen in the article say they feel very empty. They feel very empty inside. They think it's. I mean, the people think men are thirsty, but their self-esteem is so low. They need to feel good and everything like that. Those are the men I think who have the least amount of discipline to be. I mean, think about it. All your rapists, all your pedos, those are the least disciplined, y'all. They don't have any self-control. And that's really what it's all about. It's about self-control. Sex feels so good, It's like an addiction, but you have to have self-control over it. I want to ask you something, Roy Payne.
Go ahead. Hey, everybody go on mute. I can mute up. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah. I bet you anything that parents back in our days were talking to their kids about the birds and the bees, right?
Right.
Yeah, I mean, back they used to do that. I mean, I told you in the chat about what my dad told me, right?
Okay.
But does it seem like today's parents don't talk about their children about sex that much?
When you say today's parents, right? Remember now, we're talking about a different generation where the family structure is more disheveled, more separated. People are more desperate in raising their kids because they have so much other things on their mind other than actually raising the kids. Women are more desperate. They're worrying about what the baby father is doing. The father may not be in the picture, but just when he sees the kids, he's so happy to see them. Maybe he ain't talking about the things he should talk about, right? So back in our day, at least my day, we had marriages. We had people who had more comfortable living space. You were able to think more about how I'm going to raise my kid because we're not living under desperate straits. So they had those conversations, probably a little bit more because, like I said, I didn't know. And most, I guess, mothers knew that if their daughters got pregnant, that kid's coming home to their house, right? And the son. So I think the conversation over the years has changed for all of us. And there's reasons for that. And I don't know all the reasons, but the conversation and dialogue today, it's different, I think, than back then. I think it's just naturally evolved into other things.
They weren't having conversations back in the day either. I don't know where this myth comes from.
Thank you, Trey.
Everybody. Well, yeah, okay, but we're not saying they didn't or did, but there probably was a little bit more.
The government helped y'all out. They put sex education in schools in 1913. 1913.
So you're answering your own question, then. You're answering your own question.
No, I'm letting you know that y'all wasn't talking about sex education back then either.
Well, it depends on after 1913, you probably were. So I mean, to say that it wasn't happening, you had some people had some conversations. Listen, I hear you. There's no absolutes, but we don't need to go to extremes one way or the other. So anyway,
no. You gotta go to the extreme, Mr. Penn. Okay. This is the thing about conversation. The reason why we go to the extreme is not because we do the extreme. There are people that do the extreme. You see?
Okay.
So that is why you got to go to the extreme, because there are people that do the extreme. You might not have the appetite to do it, but there are people that do the extreme. But this is what I disagree with. I disagree that somebody should be fired from their job for approaching a woman, for being a man. But I agree that the person should be fired for touching the woman unauthorized. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm not going to be happy to hear that my daughter was sexually violated by somebody else. But if you say sexual harassment, I got to tell you, that is just the most stupidest thing on earth. Sexual harassment doesn't make no sense. If I see a girl and tell her that she's pretty, okay, Trey, I got to tell you one thing about sexual harassment. When somebody comes to you and starts bugging you all the time, right? And you've told them in the past to not talk to you this way anymore, that is sexual harassment to me.
Okay.
But if I should tell a woman, you look pretty today,
that's sexual
harassment. And she has, yeah, that's what I'm talking about. And she has never warned me before never to talk to her like this, right?
Why do you need to tell a woman she looks pretty at the workplace?
Guess what? Let me tell you something. Do you know how many people that have gotten married at the workplace?
That's not what I asked you. I asked you, why do you need to tell a woman that she's attractive at the workplace?
No, not attractive. You're
not there to compliment women.
Guess what? That she looks beautiful. It's not a sexual harassment. If you tell her, I can tell her she looks beautiful.
Why?
Because she looks beautiful.
What is the need to tell a woman that she's attractive?
Because she looks beautiful in my eyes.
Then you deserve every HR complaint that comes along with it.
And guess what? If HR, okay, Trey, you cut me off, but guess what? Let me finish up this. If the girl goes to HR and tell HR that I sexually harassed her, and HR comes to me and say, what, because they will ask you a question, what happened? And you tell them what happened. 100% of the time that I have worked for corporations and I've said to somebody, oh, you look pretty today, and then they call HR. It's happened to me twice, and that 2 times I tell them this is what happened. And guess what? Nothing. It didn't go beyond that.
But wait, before we go down that path, okay? We ain't talking about it. All right, listen. Let me just say this. If we're talking about sexual harassment at any part of this conversation, I'm talking about legitimate sexual harassment where a woman feels endangered and you actually committed that sexual harassment. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about consensual activity between two people. Let's keep it there.
I agree to that. I agree to that. I agree to that.
So before we go further, hey, Red Planet, what's going on, man? What's happening? What do you got on the top?
Hey, what's up? I mean, definitely.
Hey, by the way, do you have any children?
Nah, no kids.
Okay, go ahead.
No. But yeah, it's definitely men are gonna have urges to deal with women. Matter of fact, coming up, especially where I came up, as far as all the brothers I know, like getting with chicks and getting into something with females, physically, in a sexual way, always is like a rite of passage. You know what I'm saying? Like I get this amount of women, I get this amount of women. It's always been like a rite of passage or a bragging point. I do this and I get this. That's what I've always seen. Coming up.
Yeah, see, Link, it's not necessary. It's not necessary. Listen, yeah, I hear you. It's true. And when I use the term near unquenchable desire, I'm thinking that in heterosexual men, everybody will be hard pressed to think that, to convince me that men don't want to have sex with women pretty much all the time, especially if they're healthy. Because we kind of, that's why they're IG models and their IG pictures and all that shit and pornography and all that stuff. That's all, put forth by men. Men with some men who don't even have any intention on going any further than liking a picture. That kind of stuff. But we recognize beautiful women. And, we don't have to act on that all the time, but we can't deny that they have a commodity that we want. And it's only time after we have that initial attraction that we begin to see more in them than just having sex with them. Either at some point, sometime we see more in them and it turns us off. Not as much, but it's there. That's why some women want to try to get to know you a little bit before they give you the box, even though they have a desire for men as well. That's why they treat the men who fit their aesthetics different than a guy who doesn't.
What?
So I mean,
wait, what does that mean, Arpain, when you say that?
Women will treat men differently with their standards and everything else if the guy meets their sexual aesthetic and another guy doesn't. They do that all the time.
Okay,
wait a minute, before you jump in. When a guy, and it proves itself out all the time. Like you, Easy Money, you'll go up to a woman and she might throw up a little bit in the back of her throat. But if a handsome dude go up and say, "I wasn't joking, brother," and a handsome dude go up to her, you might say the same thing as he does, but she might be more welcoming because he looks like the way she looks. Kiki Palmer is a perfect example of that. She only went with this dude because he had the aesthetics that of her that she
for reproduction.
Yeah, for reproduction as well. But that's what he had. And women do that all the time. It's called, they have a dual mating strategy. They have all these kind of things that have to do with the way a man looks and aesthetics. They do. A lot of women do.
Mr. Penn, I got to say this real quick before I forget it. Let me say this. I got to say this to Trey so that Trey can get it. All the women in corporate America, in business, every single woman that I've seen that have filed a case to a man is usually a man, number one, that don't look good, or the girl that is messed up in her brain. Like you see all these guys with nose ring, these ones that want to that always something about millennials, you know what I'm saying? That they want to prove something,
So
prove
what?
this, prove that. They
So
are
what?
usually I'm coming,
So
Fred.
what, Ekene? So what?
They are
Why
they
are
are
you
usual.
why are you
Let
at
me
work?
finish. I'll
Why
give it back
no
to you,
because
okay?
because you do this all the time. You guys long
Why you?
spoken. You don't make a point. We got it. You're trying to
If
say
you,
that these people are inadequate and awkward and they're the only ones to do it. Got it. You don't need to take me around the merry-go-round to figure that
but you
out.
see the
I
beautiful
got that.
girls,
The
right?
fact of the matter is that you're at work to work. Go to work to work and stop giving women free compliments and free attention at work. Your job is to do your job. You are not there to be complimenting a woman and telling her that she looks good in this dress or she looks beautiful today or I like your hair that way. That's not what you're there
Personally,
for.
okay, good. To me
Well, and
personally,
really
right?
quick, Ikene.
Good.
Let me help you out. Let me help you out just a little bit. So
Help me out for what?
I work in HR. Okay, I think I feel comfortable enough to say this with y'all because we friends, right? So I work in
Okay.
HR. I'm telling you that sexual harassment isn't just it. Well, I'll say it like this: the cases that I've investigated where there have been issues of sexual harassment, it's never as simple as this guy said I was cute. It's never that simple. It was this dude was watching porn in front of me. This dude sent me dick pics. This guy grabbed my
Yes.
ass. This grab tried to lift my
Mm-hmm,
shirt up and show my breast in the break room. Like that's the type
mm-hmm.
of shit that usually rises to the level of sexual harassment.
Now, let me
Men
talk.
making inappropriate comments depending on the field that woman works in. Like I come from a more of a
Mm-hmm.
manufacturing background. The women in that field have chalked up that boys will be boys, and on occasion, a dude's gonna put his dick on you, and you just take it. So to
That's
that
right.
point,
That's right.
and I'm not casting judgments or aspersions. I mean that's it's wrong, but they just chalk it up as I'm around all these dudes. Dudes are perverts, and that's just what it is.
In money,
But to that point,
I can back you up. Let me back you up with something real quick.
No,
Let
oh
me
God,
back
please
you up.
don't.
no,
Oh God,
no,
please
no,
don't. Oh God,
no,
please don't.
no.
Where,
Let's not.
where I was going with that, I was going to dovetail. I was going to dovetail to the point you were making earlier, and I was also going to rebuke a little bit of what Arpane was going to say. So to that point, within that workplace dynamic, it's not in and of itself where it's this aesthetically pleasing man that gets this woman. It's normally the work husband that eventually becomes a little bit more than that. So, y'all going out to lunch together, y'all going out for drinks together, and eventually that
Mm-hmm.
guy who may have not been handsome initially becomes a little bit more handsome because y'all spend time together. So
All
to
right,
that
so
point, where
go ahead.
where a lot of people do meet their spouses at work, it's more to it than just it's a little bit more complicated than we're making it seem. And so to
Okay.
Arpane's
Mm-hmm.
point, where women
I
treat
didn't finish
attractive
that.
men differently,
Okay.
yes and no at the same time. Where Idris Elba
No.
probably
Yeah,
has
how
to
is
beat
it
him
yes
off
or
with a
no?
stick, huh?
How is it yes or no? It's either
It's
yes.
yes and no. It's
Listen,
yes and no.
for the most, I mean, you're gonna go to the example where it doesn't happen. For the most part, women treat guys who meet their aesthetic differently. They just do.
That's
And
Not
it's
not
correct.
not
not not
every woman.
not as a rule. Not as a rule though.
That's
Like I'm
you know
average,
what?
probably a little bit below average. I don't get that sense.
Hold on, brother. The dating
Yeah.
apps tell you all you need to know that that's true.
Yeah, but
It's
nobody,
true.
for the most part, dating apps represent a
Listen,
majority of people. I mean,
listen.
minority of people.
Well, we talking about in general. The dating apps give you the data that says that's true. That 80% of the women are going to go for the 20% of the guys who meet their aesthetics, and we don't have to say they all hook up, but that's the data. We have real data that says that.
But that data is minuscule, Arpane. We can't go off of that.
No. Yes, you can. Dating apps are
90%, nearly 90% of people meet their spouses in real life. So
listen,
until that number changes,
I don't know about now. Well, hold on for a
No,
second.
now that's still today.
Well, hold on. We say 90% of the 30% who actually get married. That's still that ain't as much as it used to be.
Well, so the 30.
Mr. Penn is still like that. 90% meet in real life.
Stop. Hold on. Before we go any further, all of this discussion still proves my point that men have a desire for what women have. And that's it. That's the basis of all the conversation that we're having here. And and so we can chop it up and put all these little caveats, sexual harassment, all this shit. Women have a commodity that men want, and what we need to do is teach them. Well, you got sons. You're going to be. Let me ask you a question. Let me change it to this direction, and we don't have to make it personal. But you have men, you have boys of a certain age. Dr. Still, do you have sons too or kids? No. So let's put it this way: your conversation with your sons. Just like my conversation with my daughters, but it's a little different. A conversation with your son is one way now that the oldest is 11 and the youngest is 7 or something like that.
Yeah.
I can guarantee you that conversation is going to be different when the other one is 14 to 17. And the other one, the middle one's testes starts to drop and he's producing sperm. And the young one might still be the same. So as they progress through life, your conversation with them should evolve about sex, discernment, and the consequences, right? Because your 11-year-old is not going to put a baby in your lap, or your 7-year-old, but your 14 and 17-year-old might.
Yes, there are aspects of the conversation that will change as they age and mature. There are aspects of it that will change. Yes, I can agree to that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you did.
I never push back on that part. The parts that I'm pushing back on is kind of like these staticky talking point things where the attractive guy always gets the girl, and you got to have money and you got to have this to get. And it's like, and women and men only want what women have.
Money. I didn't say anything about money, but
it's all.
This whole notion that the attractive guys and the aesthetically pleasing guys don't have more bennies with the chicks, you're in delusion if you don't think that shit's not true.
No, they don't.
I mean, come on,
what this dating thing comes down to is proximity. That woman may wanna have nasty hot sex with Idris Elba, but guess what? I'm the one that's right here. Availability, the best ability is availability. Okay, if I am in this woman's proximity, I'm gonna take her down before Idris Elba will.
You're gonna wear her out.
No. I'm not even saying it from a wearing down perspective. That's not what I'm saying. You taking what I'm saying wrong.
If easy money, if you work in the same building as Idris, you don't have a chance.
Yeah, but I don't work with Idris.
That's the point. That's the only reason why you have a chance, because you're not in the same building as Idris.
And that's what he said.
If you work in the same, but he said he's gonna knock it down before Idris. No, you wouldn't. You would never have a chance.
No, he would knock it out before Idris, but he was saying that at this moment right now, that's why I said the availability is the possibility.
The same building as any of us, in the same office as any of us, we are getting table scraps. That's how it works.
That's right. That's 100% correct.
Attractive men get first dibs. That's how it works.
First.
Nah, man, I just seen too many dudes with no teeth.
Nobody cares
what E-Money
I'm just telling you, man.
Nobody cares what you saw alone. This is how the world works.
It's not
people get first. Yes, it is. Attractive people get first dibs.
Okay, E-Money, I don't agree with you anymore because you just messed up the whole thing, E-Money.
Guys, before we turn this,
I'm more attractive. You telling me a guy who's 6'4" and is in shape, got muscles and abs, and is attractive, you're gonna get dibs before him?
I could, yeah.
Game can work, but looks always trumps out game.
You're delusional.
If there's 30 women,
you're delusional.
the 6'4" dude cannot take all 30 women. That's not how that goes.
I'm confused.
Speak, let the man speak, man. Go ahead, Red Planet.
I mean,
Idris Elba can't take 30 people.
But you let the guys say something, brother.
Oh, my bad. Go ahead, Red Planet. I'm sorry.
Game does work, but it has a limit. You like at the end of the day, looks always going to trump game and all that. It's just basically raw attraction is what it's going to be, and it's you could be a regular dude or less attractive dude with game. It might get you somewhere. It might get you more in the door, but like they going after what's Kiki Palmer's baby daddy, Darius Jackson. They going after the looks. That's just what it's going to be. The looks is going to win out. Especially, I mean, I'm not trying to get on black women, but that's what the system is going for. They going for look. The dude can be a pedo. The dude can be a
let's not say
abuser.
that.
They going.
Dude,
I'm
dudes have
saying
been
it. They going for
have been
looks, and that's
serial
cool.
deleters and have gotten
It
pulled.
is what it is. They going. Look at who they picked. It's cool. It's what it is.
Okay, before we go
I'll
further,
say it like our pain. I'll say this really quick, and then I promise I'll let you move on to whatever you want to. If women only wanted tall dudes with abs, none of us short people would exist. We would be extinct. The fact that we exist is evolutionary proof.
Abs get married. That's what y'all do because you can't play the
Bro.
same game as these
Well,
guys
hold
play.
on for a second.
So
Easy
you get
Money
married
and
instead.
But
Easy
what's
Money, you married,
the
ain't
name
you?
of the game, though?
Easy Money, you married, ain't you?
Yeah, I got married because I wanted to.
Well, hold on
You
for a
can't.
second,
No,
guys.
no.
Wait a
The
minute.
fact of the
Wait
matter
a
is you
second.
can't be
Easy
in a
Money.
world where you
Nobody's
compete
saying
with guys who are
that
6'3", 6'4",
non-select
or
guys.
daily. You may get
Trey,
one
let me
win,
say
but you
this,
ain't getting
man.
a whole bunch of wins.
Well,
You're not
Trey,
getting
hold on
W
a
after
second.
W
Trey,
after W. You
Trey,
lose. You
Trey,
lose
hold on
that
for a
fight.
second.
10 times out of 10, you lose.
Can I
I'm
just
not
say
playing the
this?
same game. I'm not shooting at the same basket as you
Easy
yourself.
Money, you're gonna lose big time on that one, bro.
You lose, bro.
Guys,
You're gonna lose a lot.
Guys, if
Don't even
women
argue.
only wanted tall men, short men would not exist.
If you ask
Period.
those same women,
Can
if they
y'all hear
prefer to
me?
have you
Can y'all
or
hear
have
me?
a guy who's attractive,
Hey,
they're gonna take
maybe
the other
my
guy who's
mic ain't
attractive
working,
over you.
but
That's a false choice.
We can hear you, but your voice is too low. Ben, that's why they're over talking you. High your volume up.
Can you hear me a little bit better?
We got you,
Okay, better, coming better now.
Here's the deal. Here's the deal, Easy Money. Nobody's saying that non-select men can't get women. Nobody's saying that. You keep going to this extreme.
Y'all literally just said that. Y'all just said Idris Elba's going to take a room of 30 women and I'm going to be sitting here beating my meat. That's what y'all just said.
RP, can I say something real quick, RP? Can I say something real quick? So let me say this. I was trying to hold it in. But we have to understand that every woman, Trey will probably agree with me on this, a lot of men are married. But those women that some of the men are married to, they settle for your ass.
That's right.
There is a guy out there that dicked her down really, really good, but wasn't ready to be married and still wanted to play the field. And she said, you know what? I'm just gonna marry this nigga because that nigga ain't gonna never change.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know
That's
what I'm saying?
right.
It's a dude out there that snatched your wife's heart 20 years ago. She still think about when you right?
And a lot of men don't want to agree to that.
But there's always that one guy that has your woman heart. How many times you hear women say, yeah, I was with Lester. Damn, he was good to me. He died in a car wreck. Shit, he had my heart. Yep. You know what? I heard Candy Burris say. Candy Burris, that she said that Gerald Levert had her heart. She was in love with him.
She did say that.
She said she was in love with him. And the man she married to now, Gerald Levert, were to somehow come and say he faked his death, she would be fucking divorced.
The fact of the matter is, black man, is that most husbands were not their wives' first choice.
Exactly.
Right. That's right.
How do you know that somebody's wife is their first choice? So, like, what are we talking about?
Hold on for a second, Easy Money. Let me say this. Let me say this. I don't know. My mic ain't gonna go up a little higher. Listen, Easy Money. I know you're going to the extremes with this thing to get your point across, but nobody says non-select men can't get married.
Y'all literally. No, wait. Now you're changing. You're moving the goalposts.
Wait a minute, man. Wait a second, because we ain't moving the goalposts. We just said that men who have aesthetic tend to be favored. We didn't say that nobody else can get none. Nobody
That's
said
right.
that. You know, and so when you keep going down that path, you're taking us off track. The fact is that most men, if you have the aesthetics, your job is easier than guys who are non-select. Now, just so your ego won't get too bruised, you know, non-select men may also be their first choice for their particular wife, depending on where she fits on the chain. But you know, one of my things with marrying a woman is that one of your vetting techniques is that you need to find out whether she chooses you as her first choice going in. Because if you sleep on that and she's just marrying your ass on a rebound because she needs somebody to take care of her, that's where a lot of guys fall. And BMU is right. So anyway, man, listen, again, that's why I try to say, let's talk in general. let's speak in generalities instead of absolutes, because I hear this point is like triggering for you a little bit, and it should
No,
be.
the reason I have the issue with it is because the way that you're sounding is, if you're a 5'4" man, you should just kill yourself.
No, that's
Why
what
why do you exist?
that's what you're hearing.
Yep, you
That's
should.
what
That's
you're
what y'all are
You should.
saying.
You have no reason to be out here. You know what they do. You know what they do to the runts in the litter.
If you
You know what they do with the
5'4"
runts to the
man,
litter, the litters when they have these bad litters and they got runts. You know what they do with them? They get rid of them.
We're not
They
doing
get rid of them.
here. We're not doing
If you were out in the wild and you were the runt, you were small and weak and slow,
you're
they
dead.
would get rid of you or they would leave you behind.
You're dead.
Right.
But let me say this, man. If you're 5'3", or you're a 5'3" guy and you got married and you got lucky to be married to a woman, I'm telling you, a large percentage, and we got to start having these real ass conversations. A large percentage of those men who are married, their wife said, "Okay, fuck it, I'll marry him since I couldn't marry the nigga I really wanted." That's just what it is. And if you got a lot of these wives to tell the truth, they would fuck. If you put them on a lie detector machine, a lot of motherfucking husbands would be sick to their stomach. Their hearts would be fucking broke.
Destroyed,
BMU.
black man.
I gotta say something. The BMU, let me say something to add to what you just said. If you are a man and you're married to a woman and you cheat on your wife and she leave your ass, you're not even the first man she wanted to marry at the first place. Because if you were the first man, she will fight the shit to keep you, and she's gonna go fuck the other woman up because you know why? She wants you. She's not gonna leave your ass because you were the number one. But if she leave your ass and move out, you were never the first guy that she wanted at the first place.
Hey, black man, they just did a study, and the study showed. As a matter of fact, it made the news. They did a whole report on it, and it showed that like 70% of like married women had a backup plan. They had a backup plan. They had somebody they would go to. You got the male ego is so crazy out here that these dudes really truly think that they're the guy. You're the guy. If you want your wife first, you ain't the guy, brother. I'm gonna tell you right now, you're not the guy. And I'm telling you as a man who has slept with many married women, I'm telling you, you ain't that. You ain't what you think you are.
And guess what?
I'm being honest with you. Y'all can be.
Hold
on. Y'all can be as surprised as you want. What I find funny is that y'all think their wives aren't out here sleeping around. That's crazy to me.
They're sleeping around all the time.
You know why? You want to know why? Because a lot of y'all men, especially in this YouTube spaces, have the sugar and spice and everything nice mentality about women. Y'all don't think they're capable of this stuff. And I'm trying to tell you that they are. They are capable of a lot. And this,
I can't talk too much, but they're capable of a lot.
This idea that these women thought you were the best they could do, yeah, okay.
Hell no.
Yeah, okay.
Hey, Dr. Still, you got anything to add to this?
Not at the moment. I was just really listening carefully. You know, I'm just gonna say this. People feel that they settle for somebody and stuff of that nature. It almost says it's just pretty sad to me. That's all I got.
It's very sad. It's very sad.
Say it again.
Oh, please.
I said it's very sad, but
you gotta stop with these emotions.
No, it's very sad, but it's the truth.
Emotions, Dr. Steele.
It's very sad, but it's the truth.
Hang on. This is the problem. Guys his age and his generation didn't tell the younger guys like me the truth. The truth of the matter is that a lot of these women are not what we think they are. And Dr. Steele, I just watched. Hang on, Ekene. I just watched a video.
I'm responding to you, bro.
I just watched a video of you, Dr. Steele, where you were on with Kevin Samuels, and he had to get you right. Because you have a mentality, you have a thought process that everything is sweet with these women out here, and it's not. It's not.
It's sour.
Well, hey,
go ahead.
You talking about it's sad. It's not nothing about it being sad. It's the truth. It is what it is.
It is true. Okay, so go ahead, Dr. Still. Go ahead.
Yes, Trey. I did get some education from Kevin Samuels about women as well. It was a great conversation. Okay, But let me tell you something. Yeah. I mean, and I'm still gonna say it's pretty sad. Yes, it's the truth, but still, it's pretty sad. Everybody have their preference. We all do. I know I do.
Listen, okay,
Man, these
listen. You know
broads,
what? It's good. Go ahead, Red Planet. Go ahead, man.
man, these
Well, I
broads.
got
If you want any proof of how these chicks, if you want any proof of how these chicks get down, look at the story. It's a dude out of Tennessee, 34 baby mothers. One dude, they chasing after him. It's like another story out of no, that was out of Chattanooga. Another story out of Memphis, like 50 or 60 baby mothers to like
85,
2 or 3 dudes. They
85.
basing a lot of this stuff off of the aesthetic. It's looks only. The dude could be a serial, deleter, all kind of stuff. The sisters is on that kind of stuff, man, and it is what it is, man. It's like you got to make a decision. How you gonna play the game versus how they playing the game. They doing the dual mating strategy, just like R. Payne said. They going for the dude could be whatever, but like you said, if the aesthetic is right, that's all that matters, and that's what we're seeing in the community.
Hey,
That's what's going on out here.
Red Planet,
We seeing the
that's why I'm getting
residual
upset
effect of
because
that.
I got dudes telling me that I need to be disciplined when they out here doing what they doing. Oh, you need to be practicing sexual discernment and de-discipline. And all these chicks, they going out here. But I got to be careful and responsible.
They going.
Hold on, before
Come on,
anybody
man.
says anything, but Trey, even though you're free to do what you do, you talk about discernment all the time.
I talk about where your sperm goes. Is what I talk.
No. Wait, hold on for a second. You talk about your standards and the discernment on who you sleep with and how you sleep with them all the time because of the consequences that are out there. You talk about getting tested. You talk about these things, and whether you call it discernment or consequence or not, that's what you're talking about.
No, it's not. It's not the same. You got to stop making up definitions to words just because it makes.
Okay, wait a minute.
That's not how it works.
You're not. Okay, good. What do you call it?
Then? If I want to smash, I'm gonna smash.
I didn't say don't smash, but you smash with some knowledge of who you smashing. I mean, everybody listen.
Bro,
can you back me up on this one?
There are chicks in my past. I don't even remember their name. I couldn't even tell. I have walked past women who knew me, and I didn't know who the hell she was.
Did you stick your Johnson in them raw?
I don't do that with anybody.
Okay, that's discernment.
That's not.
It is so.
No, that's not discernment.
That's not discernment.
What is it, easy money? What is it, easy money?
No, just because you won't hit everything does not mean that you won't hit anything. That's two different things.
That's not what he said.
That is what he said. I picked up what he was dropping.
Thank you, Easy. Yeah, thank you.
Well, I'm glad I brought you two together and shit. Okay.
Like I know y'all think I'm like in this dream world, but I've got a sense of reality. It's just I got you.
I want men to stop telling other men to stop treating hoes like hoes. That's what I want y'all to do.
All right, so let me ask
treat her like what she is.
Let me ask you a question.
Hey, a lot of who was that?
Who's breaking out of prison?
Yeah, that's
sorry guys. It's me.
Trying to buy half a truck of goats and shit. Okay, listen. So my thing is, we have to, like Trey said, I agree with Trey. We have to start coming to some reality. I got a homeboy, man. Well, I used to have a homeboy. He's in Louisiana. Talked to him in a long time. But he said there's nothing more enjoyable than hearing the moans of a wife from my dick after talking to the nigga she with that says she would never cheat on him. He said it excites me to dick down their fucking wives and then see these niggas on Facebook caking up with them, taking them out, taking them to concerts, taking them out of town. And he said, I bought that bitch some Chinese food and fucked her.
I took the whole to Burger King.
Dude, he said excites him. It excites him to dick them down. He said, I dick them down and I just listen to these men. That's my baby. She good to me, bro. My wife ain't never done no harm to me. He said, I be dicking them the fuck down and send them right. He said,
Black man, you nasty, man.
Man, hey, bro.
It's the truth.
Said, bro, it's true. They say they suck. They say, listen. He said they suck.
I know what you're talking about, bro.
Hold on. One instance, this nigga said he made friends with the husband just to see what the shit that this nigga sick. He said, I made friends with the fucking husband. And I worked with the wife, made friends with him, and he complaining to me. Man, my wife just don't suck dick like she used to, man. Like when we first got together, now it's a problem for her. He said he just looking at him thinking, now I just nutted in your wife's mouth 24 hours ago.
Oh my God.
You know what I'm saying?
Hey,
we gotta be real.
Hey, PMU, wait a minute for a second though, right? The fact that women might be, some women might be that. Well, hold on for a second, man. Just because women might be buck wild in the community doesn't mean you have to lose all your control. But see, that just strengthens my argument. It doesn't weaken it. It strengthens it, right? Because women have this, like I said before, they got the box that men want, and it's unquenchable. That's what you're talking about, right? But that means if you go willy-nilly and you don't think about what you're doing, nobody's saying you can't have no ass. But if you just go, not you, Trey, of course, but if you just go and raw, you are going to get caught by either pregnancy or disease. At some point.
Might be true.
So why isn't the message? Why aren't we shooting a better message about protection rather than just don't hit it, because they're gonna hit it anyway?
Well, wait a minute. Well, what I'm saying is I mentioned protection for disease. That to me is just part of the discernment conversation because of the consequences of not having protection. I mean, I don't see how you fucking guys miss that.
Man, you shouldn't be having sex with anybody without protection if it's not your wife or your main chick.
You're using the word improperly.
No, I'm not. What is it?
And it's not discernment, Mr. Payne. That is not discernment.
Yeah, listen, I gave you the definition of it. Do I got to go back to that?
Yeah, you gave us the definition, but wearing a condom is not discernment.
Okay, what's discernment then?
So discernment is a process whereby somebody will choose carefully the individual that they will partake of. When you talk of sexual, right? Sexual discernment, right? And that is dealing with some or mostly one person at a time. But you have to be able to make that. You have to be able to make that categorization.
What? No, hold on. I'm reading the definition again.
Okay, go ahead.
The ability to make a smart judgment about something one is about to say, and more importantly, do. So if I'm about to have sex and I don't put on a condom, that is, I'm making a judgment that I ain't gonna get my dick all blistered and shit. Right? So that's the so
nah, man.
No, that's not true. That's not true. That's not true. It's like if Mr. Payne, I'm coming, Iman, hold on a minute. Imani. It's like you going, any man that goes to a strip club and have sex with strippers with condom, or picks up a woman on the street and have sex with her because of he has condom, it's not discernment. Discernment is when you deal with a particular woman at a time. That is discernment. Not when you deal with the hoes in the street because you're using condom. Come on now.
It doesn't say about a particular woman. You guys want this shit to mean what y'all want it to mean. Give yourself your own goddamn definition. But I'm saying the bottom line is that you need to have some kind of judgment of where you sticking your dick in. Right? And if you're sticking it in raw, you are accepting the consequences because you're an idiot, right? So
how many people get an STD
maybe
a
I
year?
shouldn't use the
How
word.
many people get an STD a year, Payne?
Say what?
How many people get an STD a year?
A lot. All right,
what's a lot?
Man,
it's a lot.
Syphilis is a lot now. Syphilis is a lot.
There's about 200 million adults, right? Give or take a few.
Okay.
So how many cases? How many cases of STDs do we have annually
I've heard
in the United States?
I have no idea. It's a lie.
A million?
3 out of 4 people have HPV.
2 million? 3 million?
Millions.
Million?
I don't know. I
2 million?
Easy
more
money.
than that.
Easy
Sure.
money.
It is
How many people have sex daily? How many people would you say have sex daily?
I guess
The point I'm trying to make is that people out here fucking and everybody's not catching STD, bro. Like, let's stop this thought process.
Because
Trey, that's not true. Trey, that's not true.
Hey, hold on.
Trey.
My sister.
Over 30% of American adults have STD now. Go ahead.
My sister-in-law is on the board at a hospital in Houston.
Okay.
In Houston, yeah.
Hold on. She has the numbers. I'm going to have her do a show with me. Matter of fact, she's on a birthday trip with her husband, my brother, right now. When she gets back, I'm going to have her come on the show with the paperwork and the receipts. She says in Houston, Texas, the STI numbers are astro-fucking-nomical.
That's right.
She said 60% of the women coming that motherfucker have STIs. She said 40% of the motherfuckers are black. She said 10% of men coming in there. So she said 10% of the men are infecting 60% of the women. Now that's a fucking problem.
That's right.
That's the fucking problem.
Can we talk about the entire country?
A study came out 2 days ago. A study came out 2 days ago and said that syphilis in the United States is the highest it has ever been since 1952.
And why is that? Why is that?
Compared to what?
I'm about to say that's not true.
Compared to bro, I read this thing 2 days ago. You can't tell me what I read was not true. Chlamydia is the number one. Chlamydia is number one tops, right? Among everything, but it said that at the rates, syphilis is the highest. So,
how many people annually get chlamydia?
Man, I have to go look. I got to go study for chlamydia because I did not read about chlamydia. But guess what? For what I
300 million people in the United States, and if you're saying it's 30%,
no.
If you're saying it's 30%, we're talking 100 million people.
100 million people in the United States has contracted STD. Has STD. Adults. No. I'm sorry. Not kids. No. I'm talking about sexually active. Sexually active people.
100 million people every year.
No, it's not 100 million people. You're being disingenuous. No, that is not 100 million people. Sexually active people.
I'm trying to pinpoint this. 100 million people.
No, if you say 100 million, kids that have not been sexually active. No, that is not. Sexually active people. 30% of sexually active people have STD in the United States right now.
How many millions of people is that?
And that's almost overwhelming. About 60 to 60 million people have STD in one form or the other right now. That is why we got to be careful.
And they contract the STD every year. Or are you talking about they had?
They're talking about people with STD right now. People with STD.
What's the point of the STD conversation?
You telling me 60 million people are running around with an STD right now?
No. Stop. What's the point of the STD conversation? How to have them or how not to have them? What are you talking about?
How not to have them? How not to have them?
You have to make a decision.
The point is that you guys like to fear monger. You like to say, "Oh, well, if you
gotta be fair, man.
If you have sex, you won't get pregnant." That's not
true.
That's not true.
You're the one talking numbers. So BMU just came up and said his sister got these crazy ass statistics about the people over there in goddamn Houston. So what do you do to prevent that kind of stuff? You got to protect yourself one way or the other. So
that's right.
And that's the conversation we're having. That you got to tell people that they got to protect themselves.
But first, you got to put fear in there before you start telling them that.
And you got to tell them why. Because some just to tell people to protect yourself might not be enough. You got to tell them why. And so that's
Mr. Penn, what? Mr. Penn, you can't come to me and say, "Hey, go take a medication for chlamydia," without telling somebody that there is chlamydia. It doesn't make any sense. You got to tell people that there is something existing before you tell them how to get rid of it.
Stop, man. We ain't talking about that. We're talking about preventing getting it in the first place.
And you give them statistics that is a serious issue. You tell them that is a serious issue. What we're discussing is a serious issue. Go ahead, bro. I'm listening.
No, I don't think you are. The whole point of this, just like everybody else, and easy money, everybody else, we're trying to tell men and boys what they need to do to not get themselves into these bad situations at different stages in their life. That's simple as that. And so we can get down the rabbit hole for STDs and all that kind of stuff. The truth of the matter is, how do we help people navigate the fact that there's unlimited sex out there? So Trey left, but the fact is, he might be having sex with all these women, but he's doing something to protect himself. That's the point. How do you tell people how to protect themselves? To tell people that that's not a good conversation to have is crazy, because that's what you're doing yourself. You know what I'm saying? I mean, where
it's a good conversation to have. It's a good conversation to have. It's a serious thing. I'm not siding with Trey that is not a good conversation to have. It's a good conversation to have any day, anytime, because it's a serious issue out there.
Right. And so that's the point. And it changes as your kids get older. Right. So anyway, listen, I think we kind of beat this to death because we got down these little rabbit holes, and nobody's saying women are innocent. Nobody's saying they're not, because I think women need to have the same conversation about consequences of their actions. Whether you agree with the definition of discernment or not, there's different definitions of it. Everybody, and so we can get wrapped around that's not discernment. That's bullshit. I read the conversation. That's how I interpret it. The fact is, you need to know that the choices you make, and that to me, that's based on discernment, the choices you make have consequences. And in the sexual marketplace, for men and women, those consequences may be different. Some are the same, but mostly different, because women have a different consequence than men do. It's as simple as that. It's just true. But you both have a consequence for your action. And the fact that there's a whole bunch of hoes out there doesn't change the fact that you got to protect the boys and the men from doing stupid shit, even if it's their own choice. Right? Because they shouldn't start at 30, right? They started boys. They started teenagers. They started young adults. If you're not telling them anything, what do you expect them to do?
This is what, okay, let's discuss. If you say let's discuss the solution, this is my contribution to the solution. Let me just put it this way, right?
Go ahead.
Number one, as parents, we know that we can't stop our kids from coming together. Wherever there is a boy and a girl, and if they're 14 years and above, things might happen. We have to tell ourselves the truth as parents, right? Yes. Things might happen. Then what is the next step? The next step is to educate your children about STD.
Okay.
Talk to them about condom.
Okay.
Talk to them about condom. Let them understand that condom helps and condom prevents. Then now you can talk about abstinence. The reason why we talk about abstinence is not because something will not happen, but let them understand that the best way to prevent all these things is abstinence. These kids can't fight their urge, because once you have that urge, it's hard to quench it. I'm telling you, because I was once a teenager, and hey, the urge was difficult to fight. In fact, I can fight it at my adult age. I couldn't fight it as a teenager. That's why I don't understand why parents think it's okay for you to talk to your daughter about having a boyfriend. The best thing to do is to discourage your kids about being in a relationship with somebody else. Because if you can make them focus in their education and let them understand that maturity and adult age brings about reward. Suffering is when you're growing up as a child, you have to undergo the courses of life, which is getting a good education, graduating from college, and then finding a husband if he's a woman. If he's a man, you have to go get things that will that will make you to have a family to protect and shelter. You prepare yourself for marriage as a man. As a woman, prepare yourself for marriage. But when we don't have those discussions, when we talk to them about boyfriend and girlfriend, that's why we end up having teen pregnancies. Because parents are telling them to sex education, are talking to them a little kid about boy and girl. I don't. You have to be open to them. You have to educate them about STDs, about pregnancy, but
All right, so
also bring up and talk about prevention.
all
So
right, so
prevention is the key.
okay. So the point is that we're going over the same territory, but people want to say shit the way they want to say it because it all boils down to the same thing, that you got to arm them with information so they're prepared for what they're going to do anyway. That's why when we get into this conversation now, all these women and wives and everybody's fooling around. That's beside the point. Given that women are giving away sex, how do you tell men who are predisposed to taking them up on an offer how to protect themselves? I mean, that's all we're talking about. And so that's why I don't understand. So I don't understand what.
You know what? What you just said, you said that the men are taking them up on their offer, right? You want to know why? Because of this right here.
The toughest things any man has ever done is turn down a nice piece of willing, steaming ass piece of pussy.
It is true. It's
Mr. Penn, man, killing me.
And that's what I'm trying to say, So yeah, BMU had to slip that shit in there, man. He's gonna always do it. The point I'm trying to make is that that's true, because I use the term and easy money. Try to hit me with it. Men have an unquenchable desire for sex if you're healthy. That doesn't mean you act on it all the time, but it's always there. No, it's always there. And if women up there in the marketplace are more willing to give it to you, you can spend your time getting it. Let me just say this before I go. Remember, here's a fictional account, right? If you ever read the Odyssey, when Ulysses was going back home, and they had to go pass through the Isle of the Sirens, right? What do you think that story was about? The Sirens used to lure men to the island and actually bang them to death, right? Because on the island, right, where you're in bliss and all these beautiful women having sex with you, years are passing and you only think it's a couple of months, and then you're all washed up. So what Ulysses did, and I'll get to you, Mr. Bennett. You know what he did? He tied himself to a mast and he told all his men to put wax in his ear so he could hear the siren song. It nearly drove him crazy. It nearly drove him crazy. So it's a fictional account of how strong the pull of the sirens were on men. It was irresistible. So, and it's just a metaphor as far as I'm concerned of how much men want the box. And they'll give up their lives for it. And we've seen plenty of examples of that. Anyway, and so we need to arm men starting from when they're boys on how to, it's not going to stop them. We just got to give them ammunition to understand that. Before you go, Mr. Bennett, let Dr. Still go. Then you go, Mr. Bennett. Go ahead.
I think what I want to do to address a young man is to first ask questions.
Okay.
Ask him, what the other boys talk about when it comes to girls. And once you gather up all the answers to the questions, that's when you start talking about what your son is going through directly, because at least you know what he's about, about what he's heard, about what he's capable of. Okay. And again, well, let me say this. Also, when I was young, I came home with a hickey on my neck.
Okay.
At first, I did not understand what it was, right? So I asked my parents, what is a hickey? because I think I got one on my neck. There's a lot of things I didn't know. This is what I experienced, and they asked me questions, and they told me more about those particular girls. They say they were sleeping with anybody, but I haven't slept with any of these girls. In fact, any girl, I didn't sleep with anybody until I was 25.
Oh, get out of here! Woo.
Because again of what my dad told me about, if I bring a child to this world, I'm going to have to help take care of it, and that got me scared of having
That's
sex.
right. That's right.
And that time I was 25, I was still wearing a condom,
Right.
because of that fear,
Okay.
And also when I was a teenager, seeing all those girls my age with those baby bumps did not ease my fears any. Because I saw it happen, And see, that's the power of a parent's conversation. Okay, you have to, without being too aggressive, you have to put some fear in that son or daughter. When you tell them about sex, about all the bad things that can happen, and let them show you. I mean, like I say, I've seen these pregnant girls. Okay.
Okay.
It was not a joke. It made me stay away from it.
All right. I hear that. All right. Good. Thanks a lot. Go ahead, Mr. Bennett.
Well, first of all, good evening, everyone. Good to be on with you guys. I've been listening in the background. Very good show, Arpain, and
I
definitely appreciate the perspectives. And and I think a lot of the
guys got to get a better mic.
mic.
I got to get a better mic. Go ahead,
You sound good. You sound good, though. You sound good.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I was listening to your opening, and I know you had talked about when you got to adulthood and the prices that are paid as you get older. But it seems like these days, that's becoming less and less true. Because in the three examples that you were given, you talked about former President Clinton. It didn't hurt his popularity at all. He actually left office. He was impeached, but he wasn't never removed from office. So it didn't seem to affect him too much. And then we just had a former president who's had dalliances with several women, and seems to be hurting his popularity. He's about to get the nomination for his party. So it seems like these days, for these men to be doing these things doesn't seem to be a death sentence to them. So I don't know how much of that is either dissuading men to say, oh, well, I can go and do these things also, because it seems like when a lot of these leaders do it, doesn't seem to have an impact. And as far as being with a married woman, I mean, to your point, I mean, Udoka was with a married woman, but apparently they couldn't keep that thing private. So it's like that didn't necessarily help his case either. When he was, with a married woman, you would think that'd be the safest one if he's going to smash with, but that didn't help him either. So it just seems like the dynamic with older people seems to be changing in terms of how they weigh consequences or not. And it seems like the consequences seem to be most grave with younger people, the early ones, the 14 to 17s, and then 18 to 29s, than these older folks who just get to a point where they just.
I can agree with that, except this. But again, let me let you finish. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yes, no, I got more. So you can respond to that. I'll
real quick. Listen,
sure thing.
I understand about the consequence, and maybe I should have been more clear. Clinton's issue had a bigger consequence on the country than it had on him, because of all the time we had to spend talking about that stupid shit. Right? That's one thing. But I don't want to go tit for tat, because I do agree with what you're saying. A consequence for an 18-year-old man who senior in high school, who fools around with a girl who's a freshman and 50, that consequence is severe as hell if he gets brought up on charges. And or if he doesn't, and he has to spend the next 18 years paying child support, that I'm sure will put a monkey wrench in his plans and the girl's plans, but that's for another panel. But look at the embarrassment that happened to Ume Udoka for doing what he did. Right? He opened up the Boston Celtics to millions of dollars worth of lawsuits if that woman would have said that she was harassed as a subordinate That's why he got into trouble.
Right. But the point you were making, though, the fact that she was married, or if you're gonna, I know you didn't endorse it. I'm gonna co-sign. Our page does not endorse people.
I know what you mean.
But she was a married woman, so you would think that would.
I don't know, but we don't know how it got out, though.
Yeah, that's.
We don't know how it got out. So the point I'm trying to make is,
you talk about consequences. Let's see. Udoka was with Nia Long, which she's all the way over the wall past Mexico.
Okay.
And then so he ended up not being with Nia Long anymore. Okay, he gets fired from the Celtics. Oh my God, he loses his job. And then he goes signs with the Houston Rockets, making double what he was making at the Celtics. Yeah. What kind of consequence is that?
Okay, wait a minute.
That was a reward too.
So PM, you're being kind of disingenuous a little bit, but it's true. But it didn't have to happen. It didn't have to happen.
But you're talking about. I think certainly what has happened, even if you go back to the Clinton times or whatnot. I think the country has definitely gotten much more. Either polarized or just much more, people are just thinking more tribally about stuff. Like that stuff used to matter, and it's just that stuff just doesn't matter to most everyday people. If I'm playing bad, like what difference does it make if he had an affair or not? I just want to see a basketball game. So all this other stuff you want to bring up, I think a lot of people are just so interested in their own lives and what's the economy and gas price, stuff like that. I don't care what the Trump does. I don't care what Clinton does. I don't care what is going on with anybody or whatever. So I just don't think that message lands as much.
But maybe I use bad examples because for the regular man, those consequences ain't that easily overcome.
Right. I'm saying, but the example is set. You're going to have, but like anything else, you got a lot of these guys thinking, well, if these guys can get away with it, then maybe it's not so bad. I mean, I'm saying it's like what's being put out there is such where guys are thinking they can get away with stuff. So.
I don't disagree with what you're saying. However, I'll say this. That the one of the other points I made that we can't gloss over is that when a man gets older, he should have a little bit more. He should be less of a cockhound, especially when he has responsibility. And a lot of those energies should be focused on other things. I believe that's why men who are a little older accomplish more because they're focused more on achievement. That's what I'm thinking, right?
But the subject's been raised in this space. Our BMU had a show that 70% of marriages are sexless. So you would think that you said earlier, guys get married for the security of not having to travel outside to get the box. They got that box that's available that they can have access to. And you would think if you have been doing what you're supposed to do, you've been achieving. You became a vice president. You started your business. You're successful. Then you would think in just the way we think logically, it should be easier. That I should have more access to the box than less because I have went out and did something, and she should be proud of me, and I'm the provider and all that. So I should be more attracted to my wife. But if 7 out of 10 are not getting any, then it can become even more frustrating for those guys because you think I deserve this. The guy is just trying to chase it.
I believe half of those cases are the man's fault for letting their wives go down that path in the first place. I believe that most of those men who allow their wives to gaslight them like that and don't give up the box, I blame that shit on them. I really do, because
what you say?
And you're living a life of quiet desperation because this chick doesn't want to meet her marriage vows. That's your fault for taking that shit. For taking that. Not in all cases. There's some medical conditions. There's some other thing, but no man should sit down there and let his wife gaslight him, but not give him no ass.
So what is he supposed to do?
He either has to stop doing the economic balance and leave her ass, and tell her that, hey, listen, you made a vow or stop doing. Why would you be in a situation where your wife can gaslight you like that for the rest of your life because you want to stay married to her?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I would go ahead and find a woman to have sex with. I would.
Okay, so he's in So he's in that complicated situation where he's out essentially in the marketplace.
Or he should just divorce her.
Intentions are so.
He should
Look,
that's one of the reasons why you can get a divorce in marriage, right? And under the vows, if she breaks the vows, the Bible don't have no thing in there where you could divorce a woman who doesn't want to put up.
It is permissible under that, but in this country, you know, there's gonna be consequences to that. You know, you're not gonna walk out of there scot-free. You're not gonna walk.
Oh no, that's not correct. Mr. Bennett, that's not correct. That's not correct. I'll tell you this, right?
Hold on,
in America,
before you say this, I'm on Team Bennett here. This is the only country where a woman can cheat on her husband, he can file for divorce and still lose everything.
I'm not gonna say that is not true. But do you want to be at the gate of hell or do you want to be inside hell? Which one do you choose?
That's a binary choice.
Hold on. So if you stay with her, okay, let's talk about it. So you say you want to be in hell or out of hell. If she's cheated on you and you file for divorce, she's going to drag you through hell with those children. She's going to drag you through hell with half of everything. You know, the court's going to be favoring her on your money. If you stay with her, you got to deal with the agony of another dick penetrating your wife when you're not around. So either way, you're going to be in hell. You just got to choose your temperature.
That's what I said. Do you want to be at the gate of hell or do you want to be inside the hell? That's what I said. The same thing.
Absolutely.
So the latter is inside hell. The former is at the gate of hell. So how would I be at the gate of hell than inside hell itself?
What's your solution?
We already know what echinase is. We already know what that is.
No, PMU, what's your solution?
Okay.
Solution to what? Ask me the question.
Your solution to a woman not just cheating on you, but withholding sex from you.
I think that it's not. If I'm coming from what I believe, it is not biblical for a woman to withhold sex from her husband.
Right.
It is very much in the Bible that it says that a woman should not deprive her husband from his sexual desire.
What did you do about it?
Yeah, neither her or him should deprive each other unless they both agree. If the husband is in a sexless marriage, that is not a godly woman.
So what should you do about it?
Huh?
Get it on my ass. Get it on my ass.
She is not right. She is not what you need to do as your husband first. You should go and seek some type of counseling, get to the root of the problem, see what the problem is. But no man should stay with a woman who is intentionally, because most women are, because they use sex as a weapon if they don't get what they want. No woman, if a woman's intentionally withholding sex, in Proverbs it says, a good woman, a wise woman is a crown to her husband's head, but a woman who is full of deceit is cancer to his bones. If that man stays with that woman who deprives him, who speaks ill of him, he's dying a slow death. And I don't think God wants that man to be with that woman. I think that woman is very evil.
Okay, so BMU, so you're saying regardless of the financial cost, he should leave her?
I think that, yes, if you go get the help and the help doesn't work, I think, he should move on to something. He should move on in life, get the help that he needs, so he's prepared for the woman that really was supposed to be his wife. Because
I push back a little bit in that, again, we talk about, this marketplace is not what it once was. So how confident can he be that he's going to go out there and get something better than what he already had?
Right.
Always.
Mr. Bennett, I agree with you 1,000%. I think that even if he gets out of it and he clears himself and gets out of it, man, guess what? He's in a world.
It's rough out in these streets today.
Yeah, it's rough out in these streets. So he's gonna have to pick his poison. Be by yourself and get you a cane corso, or deal with another woman who's potentially very promiscuous and out in the street.
The way guys talk today, he may have to wait for that AI to come in, but that's
he may have to get some robot ass. Because
there's a solution. BMU, there's another solution.
Here it comes.
There's another solution.
We're not. Hey, look, I'm not beating her. I'm not going to beat her.
No, you're not going there. No,
that's not where I'm going.
Drop it, yeah, we know where you're going. Drop it.
Get your passport, bro. Get your passport. Travel out of the country.
No, I thought you said two or three of them on the side. I thought your thing was to marry, have 2 or 3 wives. So
Yeah, that's another
No,
one.
no, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. No, I got to say this, right? 2 or 3 wives. That's what I try to tell people. You can't get 2 or 3 wives when you're fighting the first wife. You can't do that. You actually shoot yourself on the foot. You get them up. If you want to get 2 or 3 wives, is when your wife don't want to perform and she don't want to get divorced, right? She insisting that she's going to live in that house, that she ain't going nowhere. Now you can get yourself a second wife.
that's what I was saying. That's why I knew you were
Yes.
going there. That's your
Yeah,
solution.
yeah.
There-
Because
I
you
knew
know
were
why?
going there.
Because she's a bitch ass. She already fucked up.
Look at Easy Money say, go over there and find a prostitute with your passport. Hey, come on.
Yeah, another one is to go get. I have a friend, right? He divorced his wife a long time ago.
I ain't gonna let Easy Money disrespect you like this. Easy money. Just because you go overseas does not make the woman that you may fall in love with a whore. We got to get away from that notion. Secondly, half of the men in America right now are 70% of the men who have picked wives are in sexless marriages. And out of those 70%, 30% of those women are fucking other men behind their husband's back. So who is the real
That's
whore?
right.
The overseas whores or the domestic whores? They're all whores if you want to do it like that, brother.
Easy Money. You be surprised that some of your wives are hoes already. They're fucking 2, 3 men out there, and you don't know about it.
Oh man.
Hey, R-Pain, I did want to get back. So again, the examples you've been dropping tonight, I do have to kill the last one as well, because you also mentioned Samson, and it wasn't because of the box that Samson gave up the secret. He gave up the secret because Delilah nagged him to death, because he was playing with her the whole time. He tricked her 3 times. She asked him 3 different times, "What's the secret to your strength?" He lied to her all 3 times, but she kept nagging him, and that's why he gave it up. So again, when Proverbs talks about
trying new tricks, and he finally
nagged, but it wasn't because of the box. He just got tired. You nagging me too much, so that's why he gave it up. So what? So the box had nothing to do with it in that case.
The box had something to do with it.
Nagging. Now, well, look, if you nagging, you don't want the box anyway. He just wanted to shut her up. So, but
so I'm gonna tell you the secret about straight. I hear you. I mean,
that's what it's right here. It says Judges 14:16. With such nagging, she prodded him day after day until he was sick to death of it. So he told her everything. So it had nothing to do with the box, bro.
Unless they were in bed. Well, hey, listen, you could nag a guy while you're riding his ass.
No, heck no.
I hear what you're saying.
I go limp in a minute. That's kryptonite for me. Nagging is kryptonite, man. You don't want to be near that woman. Man.
I hear what you're saying, but I hear that. But
yeah, but I just want to go back to the general. If I can go back just to general discussion.
My Adam and Eve was pretty good though.
Yeah, but it's funny because the new show that I'm doing with grooming and reviews, the gray area. We actually talked a little bit about this in terms of how sex is, or how sex education, or how's that happened in Greece. I've also been a part of other discussions and conversations with other ethnic groups as well, and they just have a very different approach than us. So, like in Greece, it is tradition, for example, for a man when his son is getting those urges and comes of age, to take the son actually to a brothel, because prostitution is actually legal in Greece, to get his education. So I'm thinking, that's a totally different thing. And then in Germany, for
that's example, a practical education. Education.
That's so again with that, and the thing is also you're not going for a fear base, because I definitely don't think fear has ever done anything to quell the passions that have been talked about earlier. So I know Dr. Steele, I know he was talking about that earlier, but back in the day, everything was fear based. If you put, I think, black man, what did your mom tell you about? Mom and dad, you said, what they tell you about sex ed? I think they warned you about something.
About sex, oh damn, I'm tongue tied.
Education, yeah, sex education.
Yeah, my mama told me a lot of things, but one of the things in particular my mom said is, hey, listen, make sure you pay attention in sex class. Don't take it as a joke. But I'm gonna tell you something on the side, son. She said, if you want your dick to look like the inside of a volcano, go out and have sex. I'm telling you, this is exactly what my mama said. If you want your dick to look like the inside of a volcano, you go ahead and have unprotected sex with these women and watch what happens. Our parents were much more brutal. They didn't beat around the bush.
I agree with that.
My mama said, you're going to be around here. She said, your dick going to swell up. She said, so sometimes they have to squeeze all the infection out your dick. She said, if you want your dick looking like a Brazilian suitcase, she said, that's on you. She said, but I'm trying to get, my daddy said the same thing. He said, son, your dick probably going to be so bad, you have to slam it in the door to get some relief. He said, don't be out here dicking down women without no condom. My dad was just real talk.
Right.
All right. So let me,
and it didn't do much to dissuade you now, did it?
No, it did not.
That's the point. The point I'm making just
remember,
is just,
Mr. Bennett, keep in mind, remember, I got my first piece of ass when I was 12 and she was 49.
So can't look to the adults to be role models for you. But
well,
but the main point I'm making
that's fucked up situation.
But there's just other ways that cultures deal with this that taking biblical out of it. Like, look, I'm I'm pro abstinence, wait until you get married and whatnot. But then at the same time, society has ruined that. We talk about the nature of people, but it is unnatural, I think, for people to be getting married so late in life. I mean, the average age now is 30 for men and 27 in this country. In Greece, Grumman and Rubu said the average age of getting married is like 37, 38. So how are you going to, so humanity has pushed back what's also supposed to be natural for people to be hooking up early. And so, unless the culture decides to change and people start, marrying younger and then bringing that family structure back. Like back in the day, you would get married young, you would live with your parents until you got money, you worked and got through school or whatever and got yourself together, and then you moved out on your own and whatnot. Well, it's gonna be hard to stop what's happening now. That I think it's still gonna be happening.
Mr. Bennett, Mr.
Penn. Man, wait a second. All I'm just trying to say to that is there's a certain amount of inertia that is built up and so changing the way societies have moved back to the old days where people wanted to get married younger. We haven't talked about the sea change that's going to have to happen to even make that begin to be a possibility again. And so you know what I'm saying? I mean, we're so far down.
We're still seeing it modeled today because statistically, Latinos. You don't want to talk about the pregnancy rates or the age where people get pregnant. Latinos lead that. But at the same time, they're the fastest growing demographic in the country. And it's not just due to the immigration issue. They just stay together. So we're seeing it right in front of us in terms of how people are doing things. You have a house right down the street here. You got 6 or 7 families in that mug. But they stay together. So, again, that sense of community, that unity. Go to the mall, you'll see the 30-year-old grandmother with the 15-year-old mom and the son.
Asians stay together too, though.
But they get married young. They get married later, though. I'm just saying, certainly if you look at what's next to us, Latinos, which is, they've certainly passed us.
Okay, Mr. Bennett, and Mr. Penn, I got something to say. What you guys said, what you guys just said right now is not correct of African descendants and Africa. That idea of Black people getting married very early was when they came over here. You see what I'm saying? Because your ancestors, right, didn't practice that early marriage. I wish you guys had been on my show yesterday because I do show every other Sunday, but I'm going to go back to every Sunday. So this is what I discussed yesterday. In Africa, throughout centuries, for over 100,000 years now, what we do is this. A man goes out there and makes his living. Usually by the age of 30, he finds a wife. His wife is usually between the age of 15 and 18. You see that 15 years old and 18 years old? Because the puberty starts at 12, 13. So that 3 years, after that 3 years, I'm coming, Mr. Penn, 1 minute. After that 3 years, now she's ripe for marriage, right? So it has always been throughout history even in the white culture, that men are significantly older than their wives. But women, due to they are the dominated one, usually get married very early. Not for men to get married very early.
You still have a young person involved. The
Yes,
woman is younger,
yes.
so you can't just say he was wrong.
Right. And can I ask you something, Akinado? Again, so if a man's going to wait until 30 or older, he's celibate until
no, it's not celibate. It's not celibate.
The whole point of the show is about sex and sex education and whatnot. So if you talk about a guy holding off until marriage, he's still getting it at whatever age he might be 14, 15 when he first hits it too. So it's no better. You talk about how to protect yourself out there from STDs and all that stuff. You're still at risk, whether you're bad or not.
Exactly.
So
it's bad advice,
because of that.
Well, go ahead. Wait, hold on before you go. Let's Trey Ferg. Then welcome to the show, man. Go ahead, man.
Hey, man, RP, man, you over cooking on Monday for real.
See, that's because he moved. Because he moved his show back to 7 p.m. See, that's why. Again, already paying dividends already.
And I got in sort of late, man. I was taking care of some other business, man. I just heard, I know the topic with sex is marriage, look, man. And we all OGs, man. And I'm speaking to the young G's, man. You want to get married, man. You whatever destiny you want, man, just be on that square. When it come to your woman and she looking you in the eye every day, you let her know she got to be down with you all day, every day. Cut out all the extra noise. Learn to love each other, talk about stuff, because every day of your life is gonna be due. And other than that, man, what you gonna do? You can't. We crying about being single. We married. Talking about no, we can't get up there. We nervous in the mud out here now. I'm paying to been married over 30 years. His brother been in about 20-some years.
Yeah, March 29th.
We scared to get back out on the scene.
Oh, no, get it.
So don't do it, man. So your last point when you saying about just a man choosing a woman at a certain age. Listen, in America, that legal age is 18. So when you in America, don't think about that age from your country. Now, if your woman is American, she has to be legal 18.
No. I think you got it wrong. We're talking about olden days. But currently in Africa, you can't even marry somebody below the age of 18. It's 18 now in Nigeria.
We're talking about today.
No. I said back in the days. Remember, I said back in the days, right? Then today it's 18. You got to be 18 to get married.
I'm asking you, even today,
right?
You can get married under age 18 if there's parental consent. Is that not correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
In every culture. Yeah, if there is parental consent, yes.
A grown man in his 30s, if he's talking to somebody that age, then he's a little weird. He's a pervert to me. I'll just say.
Hold on. You're right, Trey, let's not go down that.
No, I'm just saying. No. As far as helping the youth, you have to be more medical. You got to give the medical science behind it. And that's what the children need to see today. They more visual. You have to show them the medical reasons, the consequences. It's all about those consequences because they see a lot of perverted sex. Children see breasts and butt and booties, and they see it all day walking around. Then young dudes is hooked off porno. I had a couple of young dudes, 6th, 7th grade, talking about they hooked off porno. This was 9-10 years ago. So now you see it even more in the communities. And I ain't even gonna say it in the communities. It's done spilled over into the city streets. It's spilled over. It's all you see on the TV news. Everything is a button to cheat. Nobody won't see all that. And the children are being over deviant. It's just over deviance. And that's where it's going to be tricky for the man. I mean, brothers, you got to choose your destiny right now. Choose your destiny right now. Don't see the world. American women great come to a head. They're gonna have to make a decision by this next election. They out here wasting all this money. There's brothers out here. We've been having a bootstrap on our neck. We've been doing it since we've been on this place. We generated so much, and y'all need us more than y'all believe y'all do. I don't care. Brothers, take care of you. Go get your children from your mothers. The mothers, y'all don't really want them because y'all treat them bad. Y'all talk down to them. Y'all don't encourage them to go out and be independent and self-sufficient. Y'all buy them all this fake clothes, like y'all buy all y'all fake stuff, and the children are suffering. Brother, go get your child. Teach that child how to be a better person than you. That's all you got to do. You protect your child. And if anybody talk against you, what you're trying to do that's positive, just leave them alone. Stack your money. Stop buying all these fake clothes out here. Save it. Let's save our money all 2024 and come back. Then you count your money up at the end of 2025 New Year and see how much you done save, because you need more. And if you got to be by yourself, do it by yourself. Women, stop being followers or whatever. It's like y'all selling yourself out and selling us out. Y'all can't do that. Y'all can't sell us out. There's too many good brothers out here. Brothers.
Okay,
if she ain't, leave her alone, man. That's all I got, man. There's so much.
Yeah, man, what you gotta say, man? Don't take us down no damn cherry tree, man. What you got to say, bro?
No, what I'm trying to say is this, right? When we were little, a lot of us were exposed to porn. You'd be shocked how old we were. But the thing is this. Now it's in your face. Back in those days, we used to hide to watch it.
All right.
You see what I'm saying? We used to hide. We used to be scared of being caught. But now it's on your cell phone. It's everywhere. They even advertise. Some people even do advertisement for it, which is very damn bad.
Well,
but going back to
what's the point? See,
going back. No, I was responding to Trey. Trey said something. I was responding to.
Let's hold on for a second. I'm trying to get this elevated to the fact that all this shit we're talking about, porn, gratuitous sex, all that stuff, says that if you have a son, what do you need to do? And daughters, by the way, maybe the conversation is a little different. What do you need to do to arm them so they make better choices? Given the fact that there's porn in your face, given the fact, wait before you say anything, but that there's porn. So I don't want to go down this thing about discussing porn. Given the fact that women are giving up the box, that there's porn, that men are going to have sex, and all of this shit, how do you take your son through his ages from an adolescent male to young adulthood to even after 30 when he should know better, to give them the best ammunition to make better choices? Because part of the reason that I'm saying whether the consequences are all uniform or they're not, one of the problems that men have is making good choices based on a consequence in the light of the fact that there's so much sex available. And that's all I'm trying to say. What do we do to arm them? And we've answered some of that, but we keep
this is what this.
Wait a minute, Akane.
You repeat over and over again.
No. You go down this path because if you were understanding what I'm talking about, you wouldn't go down the path of porn and all this shit. I'm talking about right now.
I was responding to Trey according to what I told you. I was responding to Trey.
I don't want to go down that path.
Okay, I got you, bro. But this one,
I want to keep it. Okay, but this, and we talked about a little bit of that. So if you got something, and you said what you wanted to say about that, I know Mr. Bennett came in and said, okay, yeah, but the consequences are not really as bad as we think they are for a grown man over 30.
Yeah, I don't want to but to respond to what you just said, this is what I'm going to tell my son, right? I'm going to tell my son this. But in response to it is that I'm going to teach my son this, not tell him. I'm going to teach my son from childhood, tradition, explain tradition to him, explain the culture to him, raise him in tradition and culture. Because if he understands tradition and culture, he's also going to be able to understand the responsibility of a man in the tradition and the culture that our ancestors set forth. Because if I should use Western culture and Western tradition to teach him, he's going to be confused because the Western culture and tradition is messed up. Okay, but if I happen,
before you go down any further, I'm sorry for cutting you off because I know where you're already going. If you have a son, you could teach him and show him your culture. But if he's in the United States and you raise him in America, how are you going to protect him from the Western culture and the Western mores just by him being? Are you going to homeschool him?
Nope.
All right,
but to that point though, see, and again, Ekene, all respect to you, brother, and all my brothers from overseas. And again, one of the points of the show that we raise is we want to have this cultural exchange. Right. But a lot of times I hear in these spaces, there's a lot of cap when it comes to comparing these cultures. So we talk about Nigeria. I asked you specifically, yes, you said back in the day, guys marry earlier, but it's not preventing them from having sex. And also in Nigeria, in fact, I did some stats on Nigeria recently. There are 400,000 deletions plus that are illegal because deletion is mostly illegal in Nigeria. But for over 400,000 are still going on illegally, and 10,000 women per year are ceasing from it. So I mean, guys like to paint a picture that in our culture we do this and that or whatever, and look, we have these values and mores and stuff. But if you look in the culture itself, it's bad, and that's illegal. Imagine if it were legal to get the procedure there, but it's not, and you're still doing it over 400,000 a year. So where's the value in promoting? Say, look, the bottom line is, and the point I'm making is, humanity in general. This drive, it has nothing to do with being black or the black community or anything. This is worldwide. That thing that I talked about in Greece with the kids, their deletion rates are skyrocketing. They got clinics all over the place out there. So everybody's doing everyone is dealing with this in one culture or another. So it's not about.
Let me explain this. Let me explain this to you, Mr. Bennett. Let me explain this to you, okay? About in the last 5 years, what has United States been doing in the last since Biden came to office? What has United States been doing? United States has been trying. I'm not Mr. Payne. Let me talk. Let me say something. In the last since Biden came to office, what has United States been doing? They've been trying to export homosexuality to Africa. I'm heading somewhere. Guys, you guys cannot structure how I'm going to respond. I don't have a problem with you responding to me, so you shouldn't have a problem with me responding. You guys, are we going to have a conversation or not? Because you guys cannot select. You cannot select how I'm going to respond.
No. I'm not. But you're going to go off the topic. Look,
I'm not trying on the topic.
Why?
America's exporting to Africa. We know what does that have to do with the topic?
Because I'm heading somewhere. I'm responding to Mr. Bennett. Please allow me to respond to Mr. Bennett. Should I talk or should I just mute? If you're not going to let me talk, I'm going to just mute. If you're not going to let me talk, that means I don't have any business talking anymore.
I'll give you a short lease, but when you talk about United States exporting homosexuals, I want to know what the hell does that have to do with the topic?
Okay, then I'm going to give. Then you let me talk. Let me finish talking because I'm heading somewhere. I'm responding to somebody that said something about Africa. Let me respond to that. You can't structure my response. That's the problem here. The problem is that you're trying to respond. Oh, I'm talking about Nigeria too.
Okay, go ahead.
Good. So this administration currently has been exporting homosexuality to Nigeria and the rest of the continent. That's the same way. Over 70 years ago, they exported deletion. The same thing. Because back in the days, deletion was not what we had. We had a process how women were married. We had a process how men get things done and how they set up a family and how they marry. That doesn't mean that 99% of men in Africa had access to sex. About 10% or less of African men back in those days had access to sex. And the reason why they had access to sex was because when they go certain areas, certain part of Africa, people don't know this, have women that are promiscuous. I'll tell you that because I always speak the truth. You see what I'm saying? So men do take advantage of that. But there are men that never left those places. They never get out access. But what I'm trying to say in essence is this, right? Oh my goodness. You know what? I can't even talk whenever I'm with Mr. Penn in a show. You can't let people talk, Mr. Penn.
Let me answer all Payne's question.
Wait a minute. You
know what? I'm not talking.
You can stop it.
You're saying America exported deletions to Africa. And, you know, I mean, come on, man. I mean, let's not, I mean, just
I'm not going to say anything anymore. I'm done talking. I'm not going to say anything anymore.
Listen, man, brother, you got to understand where you're going. I'm trying to stay on a certain topic. You know, you can't say that America exported deletions to Africa and keep talking past that. I'm saying because we don't agree with that assertion. Africa's a sovereign nation, man. I mean, we can't just blame that on America, even if they introduced it. You know, so oh man, you know, listen, I don't want you to stop talking, but we got to stay on point, man. That's all. That's all I'm asking you to do. And your points are going off the point. Go ahead, Trey Ferg.
I think, you know, this is where I made a lot of my bread and butter in Chicago over the last 20 years, man. You know, being able to, and having the privilege of meeting with groups of young men, probably sizes of 10 to 20 for 8 years straight during the school day, every 2 to 3 times a week, and having individual relationships with them and the parents and the grandparents, the foster parent, probation officer, what it was, I guess, sometimes courts, man, it allowed me to just see that a lot of young brothers, the best way is you gotta, once you talk about it, then you gotta go to the professional aspect of it, show them the professional words and how they translate. And then you got to show them the consequences, but also you show them the positive when it's a positive, like getting married and having children when you get married. That's beautiful. It's a celebration. You can get the pool in the backyard. You can get your 2 cars, the dog, the picket fence. But if you have a lifestyle that's, you know, and a lot of young boys, even young girls, they don't even know. And even a lot of these single mothers, they're so busy chasing their own dreams than to sit down and give them that. And in the public school, you don't really get that no more. They took a lot of that out. So just being able to be in that space, I always used to say this, as a young boy, I can't, you're going to have a choice and you look good. I can let them know you think you're cute, girls like you, whatever, and they don't know either. If you decide to do it, can't tell you not to do it because you're 15, 16, your man is waking you up every day. You make sure you wear a condom every day, all day. I don't care. If you got to have 2 or 3 of them, if that many chasing you, wear the condom. Wear it. Don't go without it. Little girls, listen, you don't even know what you're thinking about. So hold yourself. The only way you can remain a diamond is you got to stay pure all the way through till you find a husband. And some of them, you know, you slip through the cracks, but most of them, a couple of years, man, they stopped wearing weave. They understood, like, no, I ain't having no babies till I get married. But it's just unfortunate they don't hear a lot of voices like that. What the children are getting is what these women are presenting to them, and the man, we're not. You know, we need the strongest of us to at least represent to say, hey, you can have a better way. But you got to show them the information. Go to YouTube, go to the library, do that, put it up on your phone, talk about the medical consequences, because there's all kinds of privileged things going on. People having all kinds of weird little, it's all coming out, how people just having these orgies and spreading all this. It's a lot, man.
Let me add this to the point that you're making, right? Because I believe that a similar conversation needs to happen for women too, but it can't come from men. It needs to come from women. You know, we need women to have panels to talk about women being chased, but telling them the truth that that's not what they did, right? We need to, because just like us, it's, you know, you got to be honest with the women. I think Mr. Bennett was getting this with Ikne. You can't tell somebody something when you're out there banging away at women, and you know, because the message is still the same. What are you doing to protect yourself? What are you doing to teach people while you're over there waiting to get married? She's waiting for you, but you over there banging out women all over the place. You know, so girls have a similar message, but it's different. It's different when little girls are starting to get their menstrual cycles at 9 and 10 and 11. That's different from a boy who doesn't get ejaculation until he may be 13 and had a couple of weeks. So the conversation is a little bit different and I'm not saying men shouldn't say anything to little girls. I had girls. I had to talk to them. My wife had to talk to them. But the message is different. And I'm firmly convinced that a message to the women about being chaste, the honest one. Hey, I was a hoe, but here's why I'm telling you not to be one. You know, I mean, you know, sometimes they have to hear that because men telling other boys, I'll let you go. Men telling you, me, and everybody else here who had sex at 17, 18, 19, and all that, just to tell a boy that not to do it, or a young man not to do it, when you know you had unprotected sex yourself, but you never want to admit that to the kid. And you had those sleepless nights and shit waiting for a woman to have her period because you got the call that she missed. If you don't tell a boy the truth about what happened to you and say, listen, you don't want to have those sleepless nights, and here's why. You got to protect yourself and that kind of stuff. So women need to tell other young women, listen, I had a baby out of wedlock, and that shit wasn't peachy clean. It wasn't no goddamn doll. You know, and the reason why I had it, because I had a grandmother who was going to take care of the kid while I had my little 2 years of arrested development. I don't want that to happen to you. You know, so we need to have those kind of comments. I don't think we do. But go ahead. I don't know. Go ahead.
But I think, you know, the dynamic from you and Brother Bennett that I wish we had more of is that you all raise girls and their mothers are wives. So that message is going to be definitely preservation overall for them, for their bodies. And they understand that. But we talking about most of our mothers being single, is that where the issue becomes, because that mother does not invest those type of energies into that daughter.
Yes, I agree with you, but I'm not necessarily talking about their particular mother. We just need to have more women passing that message, whether it's their mother or not. Right?
But why do you don't think that the women, the younger, I'm talking about the 12, 13, 11, 12, why you don't think that they can get that information from the man who has nothing, they want nothing from them and it's unbiased, because they have to get the real information.
I hear what you're saying. I'm not saying they shouldn't hear it from men, but men can't be the champion because they're going to be looking how women move, not how men move. Yo, you can tell them all you want. Women don't listen to men that way. They'll hear you.
Did your daughters listen to you? My question is,
because they had their mother. They had some. In fact, let me also tell you, I had cousins in my family who had mothers and fathers, and they still got pregnant.
Okay.
Out of wedlock. And if it wasn't for their mother and father being together, they would have had some other issues. You know,
so you mean that it takes both? It takes both.
It takes both. But even if there's an absence of one, I'm saying the message of, I hate to use, you guys got me saying I can't use discernment, but the message of consequences, right? Because you made bad choices, is for women. They need to hear other women tell them that. Not just men. They need to hear women tell them that. They need a panel of women up here saying, God damn it, I saved myself for marriage. I was a goddamn hoe, but I don't think you need to be, because here's why. And they need to hear women say that.
So let's find
I honestly, I can see the point for both. I remember Prime Deion Sanders, for example, when he wanted to talk to his team about the stuff that's out there. He brought that. Who's that IG model that he brought in? I forget her name.
Tiffany Renner. Whatever.
So I can understand that, you know, having guys to talk to young girls about what guys are really like and what they're after. I think there's a place for that. But I think our pain, as far as just getting to some solutions about what you're talking about, how can we protect young boys? I think what I'm seeing these days is kind of similar to what you did with your girls. I remember when we had a show about that, you talked about how you just kept your girls just busy. Like they didn't have time to date. They didn't have time to do a lot of things because you always had them in an activity. And I see that with a lot of guys today, especially with the sports. Now, I think it's to an extreme sometimes. But when you got guys who have their boys involved in sports from the age 8 to 18 all year round, with all this travel team, they're spending thousands of dollars on travel teams and whatnot. They're playing baseball all year round. You don't get an off season. And we talked about why on the last sports show, why a lot of these guys are injured, because you don't give the body a chance to rest. You need an off season to get yourself together. But you got young boys getting Tommy John surgery at like 13 years old because, they pitching all the time. But I think for a lot of people, that's the strategy that they're employing. Keep my kids so involved in sports and everything. They don't have time to talk to girls. They don't have time to mess around. They're always going to be in something. Now, again, there might be a price to pay down the line. So as far as your 14 to 17 model that you started with, the parents are concerned of getting them past that. But now the 18 to 29, because they don't have any worldly experience, it may come back to bite them later because they haven't been socialized in terms of how to talk to girls or how to date or what have you. But I think that's how a lot of people are doing it now. So again, sports all year round, travel team all year round, or some activity, a church or something. You on the road every weekend, you running track in another country. Friend of mine now, his daughter the cheerleading. They going, it's good. This girl's like 12 years old. She's in Oklahoma for like a cheerleading, Oklahoma. So they travel, and there's nothing, there's no scholarships in that. I mean, gymnastics, yes, but I'm like, there's no scholarships for cheerleading. But the girl loves it, and as far as the mom's concerned, I keep her away from boys and all that stuff or whatever. So willing to take your kid all over the country and keep an eye on them all year round. Unfortunately, that seems to be how it's done today. That seems to be how parents are going to it. Just keep
Mr.
my
Bennett,
kid constantly.
when they become 18, though, I believe that the conversation that you have with your kids shouldn't stop, even though they're outside of your purview when they go to college, right? You can still, but before they go, you have to arm them with now. I'm not saying shelter them from everything. I'm saying
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. Okay, I'm just saying that seems to be the strategy that a lot of people are employing.
Once they go to high school,
but they had that reality check when they go off to
go
school.
to college.
They go
if
for
you can really shelter them that much, right? But when they go to a public school or a school, they're gonna get those influences from the outside. So you can do your best to keep them from succumbing to some of those influences, and keeping them busy is one of those things. You got your schoolwork, you got your homework, and here's your extracurricular activities, something I approve. And I'm going to just say this, and again, if you have something else to say, you don't have to stay on mute forever. Here's my thing. I don't remember at one time when my kids were growing up that I didn't know where they were.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all the time. They were either in school or they were over here or they were over there. I don't remember. I remember a guy, my daughter used to play with this girl across the street, and it was getting late. She was home. My daughter was home. And he came to my door. He didn't know where his daughter was. They were like 12. I said, listen, she's not here. I don't know where she's at. She wasn't over here, blah, blah, blah. I mean, he found her eventually, but he didn't know where his 12-year-old girl was. I'm saying, I couldn't imagine. So, I mean, it wasn't like we were oppressive, but I knew where my kids were all the time. I mean, all of them. Anyway.
There's a sort of hit or miss with that, because one thing that, and a lot of parents are like that now, like always on their kids, but when we were young, there was the neighborhood.
Us.
There was the neighborhood, though. The neighborhood was basically, look, be home by 6.
Right.
We went all over the place or whatever. We got on our bikes. We rode all over the place. One town to the other, the next town over. Be home by 6. So that dynamic of being over your kid constantly, whatever. But then we lost the community, though. We lost that sense of, parents knew each other and everybody knew what we had that. So again, it's a trade-off for being that over your kid, where you always know where they are and whatnot, but they don't build. But what about their interpersonal skills, building relationships, building friendships? Because they're always
being over them doesn't stop that. But listen, One of the reasons why that happened for me is we moved out of the neighborhoods. We moved to places where we didn't know that the neighbors didn't look like you like they did in the neighborhood.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, but that's an aspect. Like I said, there's a positive and there's pros and cons. That's all I'm saying. I mean, that sense of community where everybody on the block, again, those kids would come over to your house for dinner, right? Like, or your kid would be, where you at? Oh, I went to so and so's house. I mean, we lost something with that when we wanted to move from the urban areas or even the suburbs into these isolated communities because we thought either the school systems were better or whatever. But it's like your kid's the only black kid in school, and you're just so this isolation that we gave our kids. So again, we lost something, I think, with that time. But it'd be like 12, and it would be like a pack of it's like 12, 14 kids on our bikes. You just see it just riding through on our BMXs, doing this and that or whatever. And so I mean, that's gone, man. So I think there's a trade-off there that we're missing.
But even to touch on Brother Bennett's point, I had 5 sisters in the house with me, so I understood female from the birth. The first time I understood, I knew females were moody, so girls I met, I talked to, I just keep it moving. But even to Brother Bennett's point about going back to our time, just think about that dynamic where young folk that believed that we had it so rough, but look how freely we were able to move. We communicated with other people. If you went to my school and I realized you was 6, 7 blocks away, we would meet up somewhere in between there and have a back and forth for 4 or 5 years. You know what I'm saying? A couple of years till we just grew. The times were a lot safer. The drugs and crack wasn't out on our backs like it was on these. We was almost, teens coming out of high school. And once we got it as adults, it devastated us. It tore us up. This is all a result. You talk about our pain when you were back in the day. You were so protective based off what you saw as an adult from when you were young. It's like it was a different time. It was a different time, and that's where our disconnect is from. This is a lot of this nuance that we see and talk about.
Yeah, but the disconnect is not. I mean, even though there's some aspects that we lost, but there were some things that we gained. I think we can't just say it was all lost.
That's why I said the pros and cons. Like I said, I'm not trade-offs.
I lived in New York, and when we moved to the Bronx, the neighborhood was much better than living in Harlem where we lived until they regentrified it. But I had to take a bus, a train, and another bus to go to my grammar school, and they didn't take me out and move me to a school in the Bronx, right? I mean, I still had to go to Manhattan. I was 8 years old.
Survival.
I would never see doing that with my kid these days. Matter of fact, it might even be child abuse.
Right. If something happened at the same time, but you're a lot more mature.
Yes,
you grew up a whole lot faster.
Oh yeah,
that's the problem. We got 30-year-olds who are like still 18 years old because they were never given anything. Because
there's no doubt about that. We had to come home and get home in rain, sleet. The bus is not running. I had to go through Fort Apache, the Bronx, to get home, man. And I had this stupid Catholic school handbag. I had a book bag from Catholic school. I looked like a uniform mark. With this, oh man, are you kidding me?
Hey, did anybody bother you on pain? Did nobody bother you? Did nobody bother you? Did they?
I was able to run.
Right, but
you survived the pressure, our pain. They say pressure makes diamonds or breaks pipes. You're a diamond. Look, that whole season, because I had to do the same thing. I was taking the buses to different towns to go to school. All that stuff. I was homeless at one point. My mom and I were living in a motel. And I was going to school from a motel by myself. Nobody, no self, no nothing. But we came out of that. We're stronger, more independent, and we can see things from a different perspective. But you got these kids who are like, you're 25 years old, and it's like you have no skills, no social skills. You just don't know how the world works. You haven't even paid a bill. I mean, because everything's been done for you. So there's like this trade-off that, we want to protect our kids so much, but are we actually preparing them for some stuff? But we just want to shelter them from everything. I don't think life is.
We're not even sheltering our kids.
Gotta let them fall.
We're not sheltering our kids anymore. No, this is not a shelter. This is enable. This is not a shelter. It's not a shelter.
But that's why we're here now, though.
I know, but
yeah.
Right.
Absolutely.
But I mean, listen, you be right on, man. I wish I could stand in line with you because we just got to get into the motion. The young people, they just got to get into the motion of learning new stuff and doing new stuff and conquering the world. And it's just like you said, the adventure that you went to just to get to school. See, they don't want to move. Everybody's sort of standing still instead of learning new skills as a man, learning how to have physical strength. Really, your emotions, man. Just know how to talk to people and
all of that.
Accept criticism. Be able to laugh at your big bald head and big whiny head and my big nose and big lips and big square feet. I can laugh at that, but it's all mine and can't nobody take it. So love yourself first. But then you gotta learn. You have to learn. You have to be willing to step out of being afraid or just saying
they don't have a frame of reference.
Hold on. The frame of reference is you start with you, pray on it, talk to other people who don't sit there and watch you belittle yourself. It's hard to do. I can understand it's hard to do, but you still have to give. You cannot give up. You got to find some way, whether you know, you can't cuss Jesus and cuss everybody, then pray after you just say, fuck it. No, it don't work like it. Do what is good in you.
Well, hold on, before we keep going, I don't know if you have anything to say, Akane, but let me say this. I had this, I saw this video about Gen Zers, right? There was a contrast. There's one where this Gen Z girl was crying that she had to work 40 hours a week and she wasn't prepared for it. And then there was another video from Al Jazeera, had 3 girls and had a couple of dudes at the end, but the 3 ladies who were Gen Zers, they had an answer for how they want to navigate in the new marketplace for work, right? Right. So they didn't just say, oh, woe is me, my parents left me high and dry. They knew they just didn't want to have a life that was just about work and no work-life balance. And they had a solution towards that. So what I'm saying is that they try to solve an issue so they didn't have a life that the old generations have. But so we're talking about the sexual marketplace where everything's willy-nilly. How do we kickstart the Gen Zers, because forget about, and the millennials, from saying, forget about what happened, not forget about, because of what happened in the past, that should inform everything we do in the future, right? And there's got to be a groundswell to get to a critical mass where they can start changing some of their minds. I might not be the one to do it because I'm a baby boomer and they shit on the baby boomer generation. As soon as I say boomer, my shit is out, right? I'll have a guy telling me, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. You're a boomer, blah, blah, blah. And because they don't respect their elders anymore. So, which is also an issue. But then again, I have to make sure I don't tell them that I know everything because I'm not living the life they're living, right? So there's a balance that has to take place. I can give you wisdom, but I can't necessarily tell you what to do, right? So, so Ekene, I don't know if you have anything to say. You were quiet, man. So you're all for punishment, man. You know what I'm saying? But don't
listen,
take
guys, I need to bounce. I need to roll off.
Man, we're gonna end up. Okay, before you bounce, let's go to final thoughts, and then we'll go around.
Okay. All right, Ekene, if you want to go ahead, man.
I mean, if you have to bounce first, you can go first if you want to.
One thing that I got to say is this, right? When it comes to the millennial and the Gen Z and who raised them, I think parents have done a big damage to their children. And it's a pity because when I look at the kids that are growing up today compared to how we grew up, like you guys we all walked miles and miles going to school. We all walked miles and miles at the age of 8, at the age of 7. I was walking miles. My parents used to send me to go buy stuff at 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock in p.m. at night. 10 o'clock p.m. I used to go out to go do something for my parents and come home. I used to walk miles to go wherever I have to go. But today, this is the problem. This is how I knew it was a problem. When I first came here, I saw kids around my age because I was 22 years when I came here. And I saw kids around my age crying that their parents were not at their sports game, that their parents didn't take them to sports, that their dad would never show up to their sports game. And I'm like, who raised these kids? My dad never showed up to my sports game. In fact, he came to my sports game to beat the hell out of me and send me home for going to the goddamn sports to go play soccer. He sent my ass home to go home, not to show up to the field. Whereas people my age were crying that their parents never showed up to their games. So it's too much shelter. That's why we have the problem today. It's not going to be easily solved because some of these kids are so sheltered that they are rotten, completely rotten. Why do we have kids coming out today shooting guns, blowing up malls, killing 10, 15 people? All these people that are doing these things are kids that are raised by parents that shelter them. I never want nobody to hurt Joe. I don't want nobody hurt Kim. I don't want nobody hurt Latisha, whatever her name is. I don't want nobody to hurt him. Then they shelter that little child. The little child becomes socially awkward. Even when they're not socially awkward, when they're raised in the hood, they can't even put up a fight, bone to bone. They can't even fight with their fists. They shoot people. They shoot up people. Shoot up their friends.
Just landed.
It's very sad, man. It's very sad.
I got you. Mr. Bennett?
Well, again, great show tonight, our opinion. I think this 7 p.m. spot is really good for your channel. I think a lot of people will definitely be tuning in more and having this discussion tonight. So salute to your topic tonight. As I said, I think that as far as just sex education with your kids, I think it's something that adults have to be much more open and transparent with your kids. To the early point that was made. And I think we need to not only just talk about the negatives, but also the positives, that this is a positive part of the human experience. And the scare tactics, like I said, those have been tried for hundreds of years, and it really hasn't stopped people's urges to do the deed. So I think we need to create an environment where they can really learn everything from hygiene to everything that needs to be associated with that, and stop running away from the topic. I do think we need to encourage people to get married younger. I think that's just something we just have to start getting back to. This getting married at 30 and 35, it's just wrecking people, and I just don't think that it's really sustainable, because again, you're already at ages where you're only going to have one or two kids, just because of the age that you're at. So I think we need to really start encouraging. Like I tell my girls now, my oldest is 24. I said, look, you need to start really thinking about your long term. And so I'm just putting in the head now. Don't be waiting until you're 35, thinking about, okay, now I think I'm gonna get a man right now. No, now's the time to start. Even if you go to school or college or whatever, I see plenty of college people, grad students, medical students getting married, and you can still, get your degree and all that kind of stuff. Marriage is not a hindrance. When I was back in college, you had student housing for married people. Like in the dorm I stayed at, they had buggies and, bikes and stuff because the kids were running around and playing and whatnot. So you could be married in college. I mean, who said that you have to get to this certain state in life before you can get married? In fact, the longest marriages I know, one, they were the cheapest marriages, and they were the ones where they didn't have anything. They started out, on the bottom, they built up and they grew together. So I think those are things that I think we need to, really promote in the culture. And but again, stop putting the boogeyman on sex and sex education. Let's get these kids, what they need to know, and let's build a healthy environment where it'd be something they would look forward to. So that's my 2 cents on it. But again, great.
Before you go on that one, that's a whole show on showing the people out there the benefits of getting married early. Mm-hmm. Just talk about the benefits of men and women getting together early. And I don't think we talk. That's another thing we don't talk about enough. And, I cringe when I hear people talk about how difficult, marriage is and this and that. Because I think they're going in thinking about it the wrong way.
Listen, I think you need a little ignorance and a little bliss in everything. Problem is, when you older like that, you become a lot more set in your ways and whatnot. You become more used to living independently, and it's just harder to vibe. But when you ignorant, stupid, or whatever, it's like, look, we're already in it. So it's harder to get out of it. So I'm just an advocate for that. I'm not saying going in completely ignorant, but go in there with some youth and enthusiasm. But when you're 30, 35, and the only reason you look to get married is like, oh, I got to have some kids. That's not a ground. Again, the marriage comes before the kids. So if your whole motivation to get married is simply for having children, that's not a good recipe for a sustaining system.
Long match either.
Yeah,
I agree with you. All right, thanks for coming up, man. I appreciate it. Trey Bird, what you got?
Trey, I'll see you hopefully I'll see both of you brothers on Wednesday night. Super Bowl show, Super Bowl picks.
Yeah.
So again, Ekene, I don't know if you're into football or whatever, but you're more than happy to join the conversation to pick for the Super Bowl. But
I do have my own. I have a sports show that's on before that, but it's at 6. It's definitely over by the time that one comes out. So I do that, but that's why I bounce over to yours, because I need my sports fix.
Yeah, man. Yeah. Anybody can come over to a sports show Wednesday night. Me and Trey with the boys from Texas were on there. We chop it up over there pretty good. Have a good.
It should be good. So should be good, man.
Look forward to seeing you
guys.
All right. Go ahead, Trey. You got Trey first. Take it easy.
Man, your topics, man, are always, saying they mind provoking and they require movement of the culture. I appreciate that. And I don't know how my 2 cents help, but I've always, I just try to, speak beyond the panel sometime and touch an audience that's looking for that. So, as far as young men, I've been saying this for a while. It's the greatest time to take advantage of your life. Whether you've heard it before on what to do or not, you can still learn it today. You can still learn something new for your repertoire, something for your toolbox that you can use later down the road. I think it's important that if you don't have a child and you're a young man, don't go making a child before you ever get married. A woman, even you, if you don't have a child, don't have a child and create a life of struggle for you and the child. If you care about children, then care about yourself first. And don't just be out here slanging and banging that thing. I know you want to, but we said it before. Get your children engaged in some activities a couple of times, 3 or 4 times a year. I know it's hard. You want to hang out with your friends and even your kids. The kids are growing up unhealthy. You're not cooking good meals for them. So I can imagine you ain't cooking it for a man. But you got to do better, ladies, because the government's going to cut all y'all stuff off, and all these brothers going to be out here standing tall and strong. And you're going to wish you had them. So y'all going to turn all the power over to the brothers. Brothers, go get your sons. Talk to them. Just be a better man. Tell them the truth about the relationship on how you get here. Show them about the sexually transmitted diseases. Show them the information that's out here, the reading part, the video. Show them that. Talk to them about the consequences. Talk to them about how to socialize, meet different people of different races, of different cultures. That's important. That's important going forward. These immigrants are coming. So what are you going to do? They're not going to give you the protection that you think because you're not standing up. We just need to stand up, man. From young to old, I don't care what generation you in. You in the generation that's living. So if you're a living generation, now's the call. They coming, man. We just got to be better, man. Our Payne want to be an old man. He want to get older. I want to get older. I want your kids to get older. Just give up the information, man, and stop buying all this dumb stuff that we're spending our money on. Save your money for a while and then figure out your life. Women, give up the uniform, please. Give up the wigs and the weave. Y'all save so much money. Your skin will look so much better. But, it's just me talking. I just hope that we can come to a better place, man, for the future. So let's do it our Payne, man. You're a boomer, man. You're going to boom all the way out.
I appreciate that, man, for coming up, man.
I appreciate you, man.
Good words, great words, man. All right, gentlemen. Hey, listen, everybody in the chat, thanks for, stopping by and listening to me. I tried to make sure that when we were talking about this, that we stayed off of trying to point fingers at anybody, except for how we elevate men. And these guys got me so messed up on my definition of discernment. I'm going to still use it. Discernment and the consequences for making bad choices. I think if we can help men to understand that this urge that they have can be controlled at some point, or at least you could protect yourself from the urges, because women have the, that irresistible, commodity. It's just there. It's part of their nature, just like having that unquenchable urge is part of ours, and we need to know how to mesh that together without being a conflict. It's really harmony that we should be looking for, and I believe that men and women belong together, right? And this fight that we have is manufactured from the people who benefit from us being apart, and we need to stop feeding into that. And until we do, we're going to have the Black communities in dire straits. I mean, it's just not maybe. The longer we don't want to be together, men, Black women, our subcultures in the United States is going to dissipate down to almost zero. Oh, there'll be Black people here, but we ain't going to have any relationship with each other at all. Not, it's down to 30% marriages right now. Another 20 years, if we keep on this rate, it's going to be a lot worse. And men having 100 kids and no wives, and wives having 6 baby daddies. It's all a recipe for disaster. So anyway, I think there should be a panel for women talking to other women and girls about discernment and consequence. That's not for me to set up, but it might be a good conversation. For a person like wait a minute, man. Wait a second.
Mr. Penn, if you finish, let me know. I got to say something before I leave, okay?
No. Just say it now, man. Say it now.
No, go ahead. I thought you already finished, but when you finish, let me know. No, I don't want you to lose your thoughts. I'm good. Go ahead, bro. I got you. Go ahead.
You ain't listening to me. You need to say it now because I have the last word. Did you hear me?
One thing that is going to happen is, one thing that I'll tell African Americans to do is that we have to find a way to integrate Africa and African Americans together. That will be a best way to increase the number, because we're too much apart from each other. We fight each other. It's not good. Like, we pick at each other. We blame each other for this and that. The white community don't do that. They all come together. You see how they all come together to fight for each other? We have to start doing that, so that that would double our number in this country in the next 30 years.
I got your point. I wouldn't argue that, unity across the diaspora shouldn't hurt, but white people are not that close to each other. They fight world wars against each other and kill millions of each other. So they ain't got no thing against anybody else. So again, the point really is that as our sons and daughters grow up, we need to just make sure they understand the consequence of their sexual activity, because it's going to happen. And with that, hey, BMU and CBN, and with that, good night. Till next time. I appreciate it, everybody. You still there? All right, let's end the show. Good night, everyone. It's been a pleasure. Good conversation. Cue the music. Well, I'm still here. They ain't cue the music. I don't want it just to be dead air. So you guys can listen to me rant a little bit more until BMU comes back or CBN shows up. I really appreciate the folks in the chat. I still haven't elevated myself to where I can interact with the chat and run a show at the same time. I guess that's something that I gotta learn. But there's some interesting conversations going back and forth, so I appreciate that. And I have to, I'm gonna spend the rest of the week coming up with another topic for us to speak about. But it'd be nice for, like I said, even if I gave up a Monday, for some women to come up here and talk about women and girls, about discernment and what they could teach women to be a little bit different and how they move in the sexual marketplace. I argue with men about this all the time, that women are in absolute control of the sexual marketplace. Men take advantage of it. We like it, but we don't control a damn thing, and that's okay. That's okay. We just need to know how to navigate around those waters. And I said this before, and it'd be good to say it one more time. Men's sexual drive is constant, it's predictable, and a lot of women know how to manipulate it. And we fall prey to that all the time. There's no shortage of examples. Consequences be damned. I don't know. BMU, you out there? CBN, you out there? Anybody? So I don't want to ramble on too much, but the topic is one that we could keep going. So it's just me and you guys. So what are y'all talking about? Anybody have some ideas for my next topic? I have plenty of things on my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. I do a lot of videos there. If y'all go see my videos, you'll see a lot of topics. My thumbnails kind of tell a story, and that's where I pick these topics from. My stories on, I got like 160 something videos on there over the last year. And a lot of these stories, BMU is giving me the platform to bring them to life. And that's why I appreciate it so much. As opposed to me doing it on my own channel, I like to bring that here and, and help any way I can to build this network. That's fine with me, be a part of something other than just my own channel. And like as a retired guy, I'm not going to say I have all the time in the world, but I wish I did. But, I have some time to build this new skill. And when I was working, I didn't. So this is great. Anything else, anybody? So I don't know where BMU is. And that's cool. But I don't want to just leave here in dead air, So anytime you want to click off, if you're back, I'm fine with that, even if it's in mid-sentence. Anybody have anything else to say in the chat? Maybe I could talk to y'all. Okay. All right. Well, no. I'm looking at the chat. I'm still not going to try to do that. Anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything I left out that I want to speak about. I think we hit it all. I just kind of can go back to a little bit when Trey was here, because I didn't disagree with him about, you're not going to stop men from doing what men do. And I still would argue with him that he takes the precautions that I'm telling that we should tell other men to do, regardless of how sexual active he might be. That doesn't matter. He's not willy-nilly into that he's not going into the breach unprotected. A lot of men are, and not mindful of what can happen to them when they do, what they got to lose. I believe he understands what he has to lose and what you got to gain. And I agree with Mr. Bennett that it'd be nice for people to get married earlier. I was 29. My wife was 27, but we were together for, almost 2 years before that. And maybe we should get back into the 20s, by ease of what's the emphasis, what's the driving force that'll make that happen? And I don't have the answers for that, other than, us talking about it more, showing the benefits of it and that stuff. And some people will hear and some people won't. We have Jenny, I think she's young and married, and she's on this channel once a month. She'll talk about that. Some other ladies come up here who are married and take heed to the message. She's married, and she has a message of a full life that she can provide to young women. And, it's even people who have contrarian views. Sometimes that's good, right? We got, what's that? Embrace the Grace. She's new to the channel, so it's good to hear her. Got White School Podcast rolls by, and then we have the ladies in the chat. I don't know if all of you are married or not, but, I see Leaked. I know you came over to Trigger Mike's show a couple of times. I see you everywhere. I think you're on. I've seen you over on the Angry Man's channel. I go over there a lot of times and listening to him. He always has something great to say. Anyway, fellas, and ladies and gentlemen, I got to roll. I got a couple things to do. BMU, you out there? Nope. And I hate to just, I don't know, I can do it, but I hate to just leave and leave the stream just going, you know? What do you guys think I should do? Should I just leave? You know, I did that once before. I felt weird doing that. Any suggestions?
Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what? This is my lifestyle. Wait a minute. Work hard for the car, so that's why it's all tinted. Wait a minute. Had a real late night, woke up with my head spinning out Nashville. It's been mad real. I need sunglasses, I need Advil. I like fake moves and my cash real. I like first place, you're in last still. Fast lane when I pass in the street, bag of money in the passenger seat. Simcoe's been asking for me on the road from the west to the east. Way up, I might never come down, cause the coast racking up the flight miles. So high, I might never come down, so what? This is my lifestyle.
Look, pocket rocket in my pocket, please don't make me pop it. All these boys just wanna copy the style, tell them niggas stop it. Whoa, this my destiny, feeling like Latoya, like it found me my Beyonce, and she shotgun in the cockpit. Grinding with the team, making C notes. In my pocket still full of green, call it CeeLo. Alligator watch on me, Tim Tebow, and these haters love to watch me.